Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tales from the Backlog, a gaming deep dive podcast. I'm your host, as always, Dave Jackson, he, him.
And I'm Claire, she, her, any.
And today we'll be covering Fire Emblem Three Houses. But first, if this is your first time listening to the show, spoiler policy, important one for Three Houses here. We're not going to spoil the story of Three Houses for a while. It's a long story. There's a lot going on. And we'll save spoilers, as always, for a dedicated spoiler section. Check down in the show notes for when those begin. And until that point, you're safe. And hey, if you like the show, whether you're new here or if you're returning, please consider helping out however you can. Share the show with people who like Fire Emblem. Share it with people who like video games. You can support by throwing a few bucks a month on Patreon. Patreon.com/RealDaveJackson is the place. And leaving reviews on podcast apps, likes and comments on YouTube. All of those will help people find the show. Suit the almighty algorithm. Push it in our favor. So with that being said, you heard a new voice at the top of the show. It's a new guest to the show. Claire is here. She's one of the hosts of Date With Us podcast. She also does charity and co-working streaming. And she taught me how to shoot a bow and arrow, and she can do it for you too. Claire, welcome to the show.
Fun fact, I actually could do that. I did have a childhood moment where I had a little baby compound bow in my basement shooting at a box at a Barbie comforter. So we're thriving.
Love it. Absolutely love that. It's good to have you on the show today. This is a game, Fire Emblem Three Houses, that I've been basically telling myself I would do an episode at some point ever since this podcast started about 5 years ago. And here we are today. So thank you for kind of pushing this up my list, giving me the quote, the excuse to do the podcast. And it's great to have you here for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about wanting to do a Fire Emblem game on Date With Us. And then my co-host Kanisha was like, I gotta tell you, I don't really want to. And I was
That's
like,
fair.
Okay, that's so fair. It's hundreds of hours. So I was like so psyched when we started talking about this. Because I'm like, another reason to go back.
Absolutely, yeah. So the game, it is Fire Emblem Three Houses. It is a strategy RPG developed by Intelligent Systems and Kou Shibusawa, which is a studio within Koei Tecmo, and was published by Nintendo for the Switch in 2019. The main credits for the game, of course, this has many, many more people, but the main credits are directors Toshiyuki Kusakihara and Genki Yokota, producers Masahiro Higuchi and Hitoshi Yamagami, designed by Naoko Horie, hopefully I'm saying names right, as always, artists Chinatsu Kurahana and Mao Yamanaka, writers Yuki Ikeno, Ryohei Hayashi, and Mari Okamoto, and composition by primarily Takeru Kanazaki, Hiroki Morishita, and Rei Kondo. There we go. A lot of names, and there's like thousands more in the credits. This is a huge fucking game. We have our quick pitches. If people don't know what Fire Emblem Three Houses is, I took a real quick and easy one. I say Fire Emblem goes back to school, baby. Claire, what would you say?
Yeah, I kept thinking Fire Emblem Academia, like My Hero Academia, but Fire Emblem. And yeah, I think it's like cuties meet combat at school.
There we go. Yeah. I mentioned that this is a very big game. You mentioned that also. I have now played this 4 times, all 4 of the main playthroughs. Played it on Switch when it first came out, and then I played 2 more playthroughs on Switch 2. All told, it was 200 hours of Fire Emblem Three Houses. And Claire, how about you?
Wait, that's combined?
Yes, combined.
Wait, I'm so embarrassed. I'm a very slow playthrough when it comes to things like this. So yeah, my first playthrough of just Golden Deer was about 150 hours. Mm-hmm. And then I played through it. I got the DLC. So I did add the DLC and do another playthrough also of Golden Deer. And then in the end, it's like 270 plus hours.
There we go. The first playthrough is the longest. I want to say my first playthrough was around 80 just for that first one, and then they go quicker as you go.
Yeah.
And then DLC is going to add some too. So we always start by doing our histories with the game, and then this series in particular. So Claire, what's your history with Fire Emblem, and then what brought you to Three Houses?
Yeah, so I didn't know a ton about Fire Emblem, and then it had like rattled around in the back of my mind that it was familiar to me as people had started talking about Three Houses, and I went back through all of my old like child Claire gamer objects and found that I did own a Fire Emblem game for my Game Boy SP. So
Ooh.
I think I've played a Fire Emblem game a little bit, though I don't recall a lot of it from when I was like, 10, 12 years old. And so then I was like, oh, I guess I did like these characters back then. And then as folks were talking, I'm like such a sucker for school role-playing, academia role-playing game type stuff. And I had never really done a JRPG before. And so it just seemed like the perfect kind of introduction into this type of game. And boy, howdy, I really fell like headlong, headfirst for Golden Deer and then like really went that route. And then did like half of a Blue Lions run like 5 years ago and fell for some of those people. But yeah, my heart is called to Claude,
Yeah, it's understandable. For me, I did not play the Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem games. And my introduction, like a lot of people my age, I think, is the Super Smash Brothers series introduced me to Fire Emblem. And then I just didn't play any. I didn't get them on the Game Boy Advance. I had friends who played them on GameCube and Wii, but I didn't play those. This was my first one that I put significant time into. I like dabbled in Sacred Stones and stuff, 5-10 years ago on emulators and stuff like that, but never seriously played them. This was the first one. And I think the thing that made me want to jump in was getting a Switch and having like a brand new Fire Emblem game and like having it be, I could like play this when it's new and talk to other people about it, like my friends that liked it before. But also it was that mashup. We'll talk about like that life sim stuff that really reminded everyone of Persona, like to give a real big touchstone. And that was also appealing to me because I had, by that time, I think I'd played Persona 5 and really, really liked it. So, yeah, my first Fire Emblem game really squeezed all the juice out of it. And now I'm at this point, I don't know how you feel about this. I normally don't play games 2 times when doing it for the podcast, much less 4 times like I did with this one. And so I feel like I've reached a point where I've played it so much where it's a little harder for me to have like a really clear critical opinion of Three Houses now. I've just played it so fucking much. And like that first playthrough, that was in 2019. That was so long ago. And so I had to really dig deep back in my memory and remember what it was like playing that. Because New Game Plus really like sands down the amount of stuff that you need to do. Like you can kind of speed through New Game Plus if you want to. I will say this at the top of the show. I'm pretty conflicted on, while appreciating the stuff that makes Three Houses a lot more accessible to new players than the older games. Those older games are really fucking difficult. And Three Houses is not really fucking difficult. It's very approachable. And I appreciate it for letting more people in. But I also think that it kind of, yeah, I mean, and me too, honestly. Like, there's a reason I only played a couple hours of those GBA Fire Emblems. I would like to revisit them now that I'm, I kind of have a better idea of what I'm doing. But those things that let us in as new players, I think, clash with some of the identity of Fire Emblem in a way that I'm interested to talk about later. But I do really like this game. There's a lot of characters that I enjoy. And I like the Three Houses, multiple playthroughs from different perspectives type of deal in here. The reason I played all 4 of the routes is because I was curious about what the other perspectives would be like. It's not because I have this overwhelming sense of completionism about the game. It's that I genuinely wanted to. And I think there's one route that is head and shoulders the best one, in my opinion. The others are a mixed bag. But I was always interested to see those other perspectives. So it's going to be fun to go through and talk about this. But those are kind of my thoughts just here at the top, putting little pins and stuff for later to talk about. So where are you at after, again, over 250 hours with Three Houses?
Yeah, I think biggest things are like, absolutely, yes. I think if a game is going to cost as much as like new Nintendo games cost, having so much to do and the ability to come back to a game over 5 years makes that a much more manageable price point to like face at the time. And then I didn't do like I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about turn-based combat. It also, like, 2019 is kind of the time when I was starting to get back into the idea that, like, maybe Claire could be a gamer. Like, maybe it's okay to like games and play video games and, like, do that stuff. And so I think I sort of fell into falling in love with it because of that, too. Because coming back to it, I will say, it hit me less hard. Like, I think that sinking into it, you're in there for so long, you're kind of like losing the like each little thing that you're kind of having that analysis of. But yeah, I think it just sort of, it's the kind of thing that I want to know all the perspectives. And then the more I learn about them, I am so like, but I don't know about that. And I also think some of it is because the wealthiness involved throughout. I like definitely want to get into that, like, because class plays so much into like the dynamics between people, and I think that that's something that I care about a lot as like a person in storytelling. I always think that's so interesting, and like, yeah. So I think that's coming into it with like I appreciate the approachability, and then also I will say I never turned on the mode where your characters can actually die for real.
Okay.
So
all right.
I went into the internet and watched some of those scenes, but after my playthrough, but I knew like in my first playthrough when I went through, I was like, I will not be able to handle this if this happens. And then once you have Divine Pulse, it like gets a lot easier. But yeah. I was so scared that someone was going to die that I was not. So the game made it easier for me to get into Fire Emblem because I was allowed to turn that off. But I also get that that's like kind of the point of Fire Emblem is
it's
that people die.
Kind of its thing, but hey, like they made the decision to have that option to turn it off. It's a clear like decision by them to make that an option. And we'll dive into permadeath more, I think, as we go in here. But that is one of the most famous things about the Fire Emblem series. And I think that the fact that Three Houses, like the fact that you are spending so much more time with the characters, you're assuming the role as their professor in this, this academy. I think that it makes it harder to accept a permadeath of a character in this one than it would be in like, a previous game where I had characters die and I'm like, yeah, I mean, like they're one of the main characters, I guess, in the story, but like they don't talk a whole lot. So I'm not super broken up. I'm more broken up from a mechanical, like it's going to make it harder because that character was good, like that kind of thing. And Three Houses lets you like really get to know the characters, spend a ton of time with them. And so if they get perma killed, it feels worse in this game. And I think that that's awesome from a narrative perspective. But from a like feeling bad perspective, I totally get being like, I really like this character. I want to turn that off.
Yeah, they for sure design it for maximum impact. Like maximum blame yourself for this person's death. Like, oh,
absolutely. I mean, anytime a character died, I was like, fuck, I put them in harm's way. And also I wasted all the divine pulses on other mistakes. And now we just got to sit with our bad decisions over here. So, we'll dive into that stuff more as we go through the gameplay and stuff. But for now, we're going to take our first music break. We'll come back and we will set up what the story of Fire Emblem Three Houses is all about. So, in Three Houses, you play as Byleth, who is a mysterious mercenary at the beginning of the game. You can choose their gender, male or female. I have done 3 male playthroughs and 1 female playthrough of Byleth. And Byleth, at the beginning, is recruited to teach at the prestigious Garreg Mach Monastery. Byleth assumes leadership of one of the 3 main houses within the school. Each of the houses are made up of the elites from a main region of the continent of Fodlan. Real quick, Claire, male Byleth or female Byleth?
Girl Byleth. I have not done a Boyleth playthrough.
Okay, yeah, Boyleth, yeah. The second two routes that I did branch off from the same starting point. Otherwise, I would have done 2 and 2 probably. But yeah. So the three houses in the title of the game, they are the Black Eagles, led by the Imperial Princess Edelgard, the Blue Lions, who are led by Dimitri, who's the prince of his kingdom, and the Golden Deer, who are led by Claude, who is heir to his alliance's leading house. So we have, like you said, we have these this school of all the elites from the continent there. And very early in the game, you get to pick which house you're going to take leadership of and whose story you're going to follow. So Claire, you have done... you said Golden Deer and Blue Lion, so Claude and Dimitri's stuff a little bit.
Yes, and I was doing both. My first Golden Deer and my first Blue Lions were at the same time as my partner who I live with was playing Black Eagles, both of the Black Eagles playthroughs. So we were like getting into it about our differing opinions.
Okay.
So yeah, I've done both of those, and it was, I like that it's pretty early on and they telegraph it pretty clearly that like which house you choose to lead is going to be a huge choice for you.
Yep. Yeah, it's a big deal. And I think that the main choice of the house, by the time you have to make that decision, what you know the most is just like the personality of the main leader of the house. So it's kind of like I kind of felt before I knew the story of the game and how it all plays out, I kind of felt like I was picking like just kind of who do you like the most?
Yeah.
Who do you vibe with the most? My first playthrough, I picked the Blue Lions, so I picked Dimitri. And then my second playthrough, I did the Golden Deer. And then for my final two, I did the two routes that go with picking the Black Eagles and Edelgard. I think, I wonder how you feel about it, since you do know about the stories. I think the Black Eagles, the Edelgard story, feels like, quote, the main story of Fire Emblem Three Houses. The others feel like they were built up alongside of that one. That feels like the kind of main
I think that's a fair statement that like the writer's room definitely started with the story of this game is the Black Eagles, and then we'll figure out how to make the other paths.
That's what it feels like. So I think that when I said one feels head and shoulders the best, that's the one. I think it's way better than the other ones. It's not to say the other ones are really bad. I did not.
I love the Golden Deer. Yeah, I know you didn't care for it.
didn't care for it, and like that, I played that probably 5-6 years ago now. I don't remember a single thing about it. I remember the Blue Lions playthrough because that one of the things I think is interesting about this is you're not just picking like through whose eyes you're going to see the same cutscenes, like some it could have been done that way. What's cool about picking these different houses and three houses is you are going to see different perspectives on the same conflict, but like the scale of them can be very different too. Like the Black Eagles playthrough is this big, grand, like rebellion type playthrough where you're kind of, you feel like you're at the head of a giant thing that's happening. And the Blue Lions playthrough felt like a very personal story, like really centered around one person, like one character and their journey and stuff like that. And then the others are like, along that spectrum, I guess. And I think that's really cool. And it makes going through those other playthroughs a lot more appealing than just like literally these characters all in the same cutscene, but you're just seeing it from different perspectives. That's not what this is.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to figure out how to like not accidentally spoil anything.
Yeah, right.
I think the biggest thing for me is that it's so neat the way that they can really drill down on some of the interpersonal conflict while also like keeping an eye toward that big larger thing, because you have like your support scenes that you can see and you can try to like figure out because that was my thing, was like, what is a scene between these two people going to look like how are these two people going to talk to each other or whatever. And so being able to kind of see that at the same time, and as a Golden Deer, it's like a much smaller, it feels more, at least for the first hunk of the game, it feels very interpersonal. You're learning the character backgrounds. It's a lot
Mm-hmm.
about class. Like the Golden Deer house has many more commoners in it than the other houses.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're kind of starting to figure out those dynamics. And then it feels like a certain point happens and then you're more involved in the larger conflict. Whereas they kind of keep that off to the side for a lot of the beginning.
Yeah. And I think that larger conflict also plays into like why you would care about, or the class dynamics that you brought up play into why you would care about that larger conflict in a really cool way. And different story routes will have different like connections to that kind of thing. Like you said, the Golden Deer, it's much more of a common thing with that. In the Black Eagle's house, you're playing as the literal imperial princess. Like that is
Yeah.
that is who Edelgard is. So she is like the elite of the elite. Like maybe the only person above someone like Edelgard would be Rhea, who's leading the church, who runs the monastery, and the church kind of like oversees everything in the continent. Everyone kind of reports to the church. So you do get a lot of varying perspectives on like our role, I guess, in this like greater conflict and our role in this continent based on like who this character is, what their status is at certain points in the story. Like things can change for some characters. Characters can have like huge falls from grace, and or they can rise in the ranks throughout the different stories. And in those support conversations too, like you have there's a couple of characters who are like there's a commoner who's in the Black Eagles house. The Black Eagles is like, they're made of mostly elites. And then there's like one commoner, and their story and their support conversations are like, they feel inferior about the fact that they're surrounded by all these elites and stuff like that. So it is pretty pervasive throughout the story and conversations in the game.
Yeah, and I'm just such a sucker for like class and religion dynamics and
Yeah.
like religion as a political, tool and all of these things. And so it just, yeah, I really get pulled in because I was like, oh man, am I really going to play another, 50, 100 And then it's like, nope, I'm in. Okay.
Mhm.
Like, all right, let's figure it out again. Like,
Yeah. So I think that those are some of the big themes that the story will touch on as it goes. Like you said, class and like different people's visions for like a view for how Fodlan should be run and how life should be like for everybody in Fodlan, for elites and for the common people. The role of religion in all of this, the role of, well, I guess the role of the church more so than the role of religion, like the institution of the church. And that theme of perspective again, like not to spoil what goes on, but there is a big conflict that breaks out. It's Fire Emblem. You're fighting people. That's, that's what these games are. And depending on which house you pick and which story you're following, you're going to have a different perspective on the conflict, and your view of who is righteous is going to be different. At least thinking back to my very first playthrough versus my very recent playthroughs, I had very different ideas about who I should support in all of this. So I think that's something that this game does quite well.
yeah, I cannot wait to get into your perspective on especially the two that branch from the same
Yeah,
storyline. Yeah. They just do so much.
there's a lot. We'll save more like hard story details for spoilers, but one of the ways that you kind of get to know all these characters in the houses is that Three Houses is built on this life sim type of system, and very analogous to Persona for people who've played those. It's built on a calendar system, and each month you have free days, you have teaching days, because again, Byleth is this professor at the monastery. And then you have a big story battle mission at the end of every month. And so let's talk first about this life sim stuff, because this is, to my knowledge, new to Fire Emblem. And this is one of those things, this type of structure for a game, when it's done really well, can make hours fly by and can really give you a lot of, always have forward momentum as you go through. So let's talk about that. We have kind of three main things that you do as you go through the calendar. You have teaching days, which is kind of simple. Byleth just chooses what students to instruct and what skills to help them practice. That helps you customize your characters and build toward different jobs and classes and stuff like that. You have your free days, which is the kind of the bulk of this playtime. there's a lot of stuff you can do. You can go do battles. You can grind for experience or for side quests. Or I think the big bulk thing is exploring the monastery, talking to characters around, hanging out, eating lunch with students, eating lunch with other people, giving people extra training. There's like, tournaments to participate in. You can garden, you can go fishing. There's a whole lot of shit that you can do in here. How would you? And this is something that might be different on New Game Plus. So maybe thinking back to that first playthrough, how did you spend most of your monastery time?
Yeah, I do think it changed so drastically with New Game Plus because they do make it a lot easier to get, like, you have a certain amount of points per rounds for your actions that you're doing, and getting that it maxes out at 10. And it basically in New Game Plus, you can elect to get that number to 10 much faster if you want to. And so in the first game, I feel like I really focused on getting to know the people and like doing those meals and like choir practice because I really wanted to get my authority up because I really like the idea of like being a really good mission-oriented Byleth. And so I did choir practice a lot. And then I like that gardening doesn't cost a point also because that's just something that like was neat to do. Gardening and fishing don't cost points, which is nice.
Yeah, and fishing is fishing raises your professor level. So like the and professor level determines how many actions you can do on your free days. So the meta for raising your professor level quickly is just do a shit ton of fishing. And
which is so funny.
I hate the fishing minigame in this game, and I hate that it's the best way to raise your professor level. I did so much fishing my first playthrough, and I hated most of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't love the fishing. I really didn't fish in any of my like new game playthroughs other than the one like they have a little side quest that's like there's a fishing competition happening and everybody wants stuff, and I did that. But
I'm like, sure, I guess.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, like let me go get 100 baits and just sit here and be miserable for a minute. Like
yeah. So you did a lot of like having lunch with students and
cooking
like doing
with
the
them
little side quest around.
Yeah, and then a lot of I do every like paralog battle, the like side quest battles that are story adjacent to each, like not every character has them, but like a lot of the characters that feel a little bit more, it feels like they're the lead characters to the house, and then there's sort of like a gaggle of their like immediate or closest supporters that seem to have a little bit more of a fleshed out. And then the next level where they all still have great storylines, but then there's one that's like, okay, and then these groups clearly were a little bit more like, and that's their vibe. Let's go. Like, and so, yeah, it's just, there's so many characters. And I was like, oh my God, I'm suddenly responsible for being all of their teacher and confidant. And oh my goodness gracious, like Byleth has no experience doing any of that. And they really make you feel that stress.
You do feel like there's a lot of these games do effectively. They give you more things that you want to do than time to do them. So you always feel like you're leaving things on the table. And so you have things to do next free day in the monastery. I guess I should say like each of the houses, I think they start with 10 characters. I want to say 9 or 10. And there is always like the house leader. And then I believe I know Dimitri has Dedu and Edelgard has Hubert. They're like closest confidant.
Claude's is Hilda.
Okay. So Claude and
which
Hilda.
I love.
Okay. Yeah. And so you do get a chance to like really get to know them, whether it's walking around the monastery and literally talking to them, and just kind of everyone will always have new dialogue about like what's going on in the story at this point, especially in like the second half of the game when like shit is kind of dire a lot of the times. Like people will have real concerns, apprehensions, etc. about what's going on. So you can just go talk to them literally. You can share meals with them. There's an affinity system in the game that when you spend time with characters and when you fight side by side with them on the battlefield, they will raise their affinity level, and you'll get to see more of their story by doing that, more of their backstory and stuff like that. So I did my first playthrough, a lot of grinding out professor level stuff. Yep. And then in subsequent playthroughs, my monastery days were always just like, get everyone's motivation high by eating lunch with them or giving them gifts so that they can have more teaching time and we can get the skills built up faster. That was basically the strategy.
And then backwards engineering certain goals where it's like, oh no, this person accidentally is like already so good at lance or whatever, but to be
Hmm.
to be the master version of their class, they also need to learn how to ride a horse.
Yep.
Everybody's got to learn how to ride a horse, and I wish I had remembered that earlier in the I'm like, god darn it, like now all these master classes get everybody up on horses or like flying beasts usually,
Hmm.
and I'm always forgetting that they should learn how to do that sooner than when I need them to.
Yeah. Now that I played it so many times, I kind of remembered that, like, oh, anyone who's good with a bow, also teach them to ride a horse, so
Yeah.
they can become a bow knight at some point. But they'll also need to learn how to handle a lance, which might not be their strong suit. And one thing I like about this, like, kind of on the subject of character building, is you can teach characters anything you want. Like, you can set your own custom goals for them. So, if you want the heavy armor guy to throw all that away and become a wizard, you can certainly try that. But I like when characters in games have predefined roles. I like following the classes that the game has said that, hey, Ash is an archer. And if you want Ash to do other stuff, you can, but Ash is going to be best as an archer. Or, Edelgard's good with the axe. Claude is an archer. Dimitri's a lance guy. And they're going to be best if you kind of follow that and kind of specialize within that kind of thing. And I like making little micro choices about classes. I don't like when games are like total blank slate, do whatever the hell you want with characters. That stresses me out. And so Fire Emblem, I think, is a good mix of Three Houses is a good mix of like, we're going to give you this basic thing. Dimitri, good with a lance. Now, what you do within that, that's totally up to you. But that's enough guidance for me. And I always say this, but it characterizes them as people too, to know that Mercedes is a really good white mage, healer type character. That characterizes her a little bit as a person, just like just like Dedue being the big heavy armor and like bare knuckle fighting dude.
I
like,
love to do.
Yeah, that characterizes him. And so I like this as a nice balance between customization but not being too free, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also think something that they do that's really cool is they say like, this is what this person's really good at, and this is what their secret talent might be.
Yes,
If you
yeah.
happened to like lean into this, like I'm going to say this because it's silly and is relevant because I'm going to talk about Felix and Ash because I had both of them in my house, even though they were not in the Golden Deer house originally, because you are able to recruit early in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I decided, because I was like, I'm doing Golden Deer again. What am I going to do to make this interesting? I elected to go a reverse harem route where I tried to get as many of the boys as possible. So that was just I was like, okay, what am I going to do to like pass the time during this early game? So, and Felix is such a good example of how fun it can be to train someone in their secret skill, because he starts as like very bad at magic, but it has the little like star there that's like telegraphing to you like he might be really good at this later maybe. And so like leaning into that and the payoff later in the game where you get those higher classes and you find out that you've sort of been building them towards certain classes without really knowing it. It's just like so rewarding, because some of those like flaws that turn into successes are so cool for the character arcs. Like Three Houses in general is so good at letting you get more and more headcanons about these people along with them telling you about them. Like Marianne, similar to Mercedes, has like she can go on a whole journey of like her magical abilities, and like when you decide that she might also learn reason, which is like the dark magic skill versus the white magic skill of faith. And yeah, it just was like so fun to be able to be like, well, and at what point does this, and why does she do this, and why is she doing that, and this person's spending all this time with whoever, and like I just am a hopeless shipper sometimes. And so the support mechanics and the learning mechanics to be able to like build up exactly who these people are in my heart and like how they're interacting with each other, whether or not I'm actually seeing those scenes, is so fun and like well done from like a balance perspective of it's not spending too much time in that.
Yeah, agreed. And Felix is a great example. Like, Felix is really good with a sword at the beginning of the game. And then if you choose to lean into those hidden talents, Felix as the mortal savant at the end, sword and like black magic, fucking wrecks. Like,
he's so good.
Yeah,
I
really
love
good.
him. And they build their flaws to match the characters too, like the things that they are specifically bad at, because there are like you get character buffs and then debuffs to certain skills. And like Felix's debuff is to authority because he hates authority. He hates working with others. He like gets debuffs if he has a battalion. He gets debuffs if he's like next to people. Like he does best when he is running off by himself and like doing his thing. And I love that they make that true in who he is around others and what his like actual mechanical build is.
Yeah. I had this as like a criticism of the characters, is that I think a lot of them are fairly one note like archetypes. Like I think of Raphael, who is the classic hungry guy. Like that's his personality, is that he's hungry. And the thing that kind of saves that is like the things that you just said, the little details that are not literally like things that people just tell you about the characters or that they'll say about themselves. Like those are really good for character building. And then their support conversations that they have do flesh them out. You have like a separate menu for, they call them support conversations. And as characters get to know each other, you unlock these cutscenes where they talk to each other, or they go on little mini adventures or whatever. It's not very animated. It's very visual novel style in those support conversations, but they do get fleshed out. My issue with the support conversations is I would often get to that menu after a battle or after like, oh shit, I haven't checked it in 3 weeks. And I have 11 support conversations to watch. And I think the voice acting in this game is like generally pretty good, but they're pretty dry conversations, and I cannot pay attention to 11 straight support conversations. And so I really had a very hard time. Like they're telling their story and I'm like, I cannot pay attention. It's too many of these.
Yeah, I would refer to it as my Fire Emblem TV time.
Yes.
And I like literally had to like conceptualize it as a slightly different activity. Like when I would elect to go to that support page to be like, okay, now we're just going to do we're just going to like soak it in. We're going to
we're not playing Fire Emblem right now. Yeah.
Exactly. We're watching Fire Emblem. And like, I'm glad at least you can click the thing that makes it auto go forward so that you can actually kind of just, and sometimes I would be like, okay, well, I have a bunch of support conversations. We're going to turn those on and clean this room, and then we'll be able to fight another battle. And so, yeah, I do think that's super fair. I wish there was a way for them to more naturally come up, because like, sometimes they do when you're exploring and you can like walk into a space and they're like, oh, Ash wants to talk to you. Is now a good time? And I like it when that happens. But I get why they're like, well, we can't force a support conversation every single time that you get that, because there's so many
there's so many
options.
Yeah.
And then they also have, which I thought was like very neat and like devastating, there are some that if you miss the boat on like when you needed to get them to be closer, you've just missed their whole relationship. Like you'll see a thing and it's like, you missed the opportunity to develop this relationship, and it'll tell you that. And that's devastating. I don't like to have to confront that. I get that that's how life works, but they don't have to say it so boldly. Like, dang, okay.
Yeah, that's rough. I don't know that really ever happened to me, because I would sit and just do, watch or second screen those things all the time. However, kind of similar to a Persona game, the Black Eagles stories with Edelgard, if you choose the Black Eagles house, which again I think is the best story in the game, you have to get Edelgard's support level up high enough by a certain date, otherwise you're locked out of a story route, which is something I hate about the Persona games. They don't telegraph that shit, and this game doesn't telegraph it either, other than just assuming that you're gonna want to hang out with Edelgard, which it's like not a terrible assumption, I guess, because she is the house leader. You picked her house for a reason, but still, I kind of think, especially with the time investment involved in these games, it's really shitty to lock stuff behind like something that I might not know to prioritize, we'll say.
Yeah.
This is better about it than the Persona games are. The Persona games, their requirements are higher, but it's still a thing where it's like, if you don't get Edelgard to rank C+ or whatever by a certain date, you're not going to see this other thing that I don't
She's
think.
like, I'm not talking to you anymore.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary to be super close with Edelgard to then go into that story. let's talk about affinities, and you mentioned that you like shipping, and this game is not necessarily like, it's not a dating sim on the back of the box, but there is that kind of relationship building mechanic as you go through with every character. You can do this, build their support level up with every single character and Byleth, and each other, by the way. Like, that is important. Who's, which two characters within the house really like each other. That's important.
It's also a matchmaking sim.
It is, yeah. But the affinity meters and the support levels do lead to a relationship opportunity for Byleth with a lot of the characters as you go. I'm just going to say this straight out. I think it's gross to have a teacher-student power dynamic that turns into a romantic relationship.
Which is such a fair criticism. And you warned me earlier that you were going to bring this up.
I'm not trying to like gotcha anybody with this. I just like personally feel gross about it.
It's so fair. And like the way that this game handles age in general is like kind of wild. Because like there are multiple characters where instead of like navigating the age thing head on, they just sort of hand wave and have people's age be like, Byleth's age is like question mark.
Yep.
Like, and it's like, wait, what? And like, and I do feel, for me personally, because of the way that they set it up early on, where it's like, Byleth is clearly about the same age as these people when you meet on the battlefield with the house leaders. Yeah. The house leader relationship dynamics feel less intense to me in that like power dynamic-y way, just because of the way that they like came up. But like some of them, I'm like, who is out here romancing like Lysithea? Like that's a child. I don't know what to tell. Like that, she's a child. Like what are we doing? And like, do I have someone I ship with her? Sometimes. But like, I don't know. I don't know. Some of them just seem so young that it is very like, how did we do? Like, why did we do this? And then for those ones, I'm like, okay, I ship them with other certain students and things like that.
Right. It's different, like shipping like student with student.
Yeah.
Versus like you said, I think Lysithea's canon, she's 15 at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, she's baby.
And Byleth is a mystery age, which is weird because like people in the game know when Byleth was born. Like they were there for it. Byleth has parents and stuff like people know how old Byleth is.
But
I'm
guess
with you there.
Yeah, they make such interesting choices on that front. And then it's like for a lot of the characters, Garrigmok is giving college. And then we have a couple very young characters like Lysithea who are like prodigious in their abilities, but they don't really like Lysithea's whole thing is that she doesn't want to be considered young, but like literally that's what she is.
Lysithea's the 15-year-old that gets into Harvard. Like that's who she is basically.
And like Lysithea's character story explains a lot about how she ended up there, and I won't spoil any of that, but I really liked it. And I'm like, I don't know that Lysithea needs to date. She's got some trauma.
I think that's fair. And I do kind of agree with you about the house leaders in particular. Their dynamic with Byleth is different than some of the other characters for sure.
Yeah. Especially with Claude with like the scheming, the tactical stuff. It feels much more like a co-conspirator relationship that you develop over the game.
That's how it feels with Edelgard also in the Black Eagles route. Like you're kind of equals, especially in the second half of the story. So there's that. And you can also romance, so to speak, like get in a relationship with other instructors at the monastery. Also, I did that in my fourth playthrough because I finally was able to make it a possibility.
I'm so excited to hear about that.
A little easier in the fourth playthrough for reasons we'll talk about in the spoiler section. There's another thing in this game that I could just not talk about it, but I think it's gross. And I want to say that it's gross. The tea parties in this game are gross. It's one of your like relationship building things. You can do this with any character. You can sit down and have tea and snacks with them or whatever. And there's a little mini game where you pick the conversation topic that you think they're going to care about the most. And like all of that's fine. one-on-one conversation. That's fine. It's the part after the tea party where if you do well in the conversation, your reward is you get to sit and stare at them for an indeterminate amount of time. And it's real gross. I hate it. I really don't like this. Fire Emblem has had much weirder interactions with characters in their past. There's a infamous mechanic in Fire Emblem Fates where you blow in the microphone on the DS to cool down a character that just got out of a hot bath, which is just, I mean, that's just fucking out there.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
The tea parties are not that, but I still think it's pretty gross to be like, yeah, sit down with Edelgard, have a one-on-one conversation with her, and your reward for having a good conversation is she smiles into the camera and you get to stare at her for a while.
Well, you get to decide, you get to choose if you want to observe her.
Yeah, is that the word they use? Observe.
It is observe. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's not only that you can observe, it's that you can also change the camera angle and like kind of zoom in and zoom out and like move it around. It is so weird. Like I just end my tea party. Usually if their motivation is low, I will give them gifts until it's not, and then I will end the tea party. But no, the observe is a wild
verb. Like,
yeah. And it's so like, I relate to it as a person who plays a lot of like wizards and Dungeons and Dragons. Like the energy of like, I'm gonna like just stare at this person I'm interested in and try to like figure out everything that's going on there. I don't feel it fits for Byleth at all as like as a personality trait. So it just feels like a very weird thing that is an option.
Yeah, Byleth really doesn't have a personality. You self-insert into Byleth, I guess, but Byleth's like canon personality, they do have voice lines. They're silent in conversations, but you can like pick stuff. They do have voice lines in combat. Their personality is they are heroic and brave and sometimes confused because nobody knows their backstory, including them.
Unawares.
Right. So to your point, Byleth, as we know them as a person, I have no reason to think that they want to just sit and observe one of the people after a tea party. Like, yeah, it's real weird. I think they make you do it once in each playthrough and I never do it again. It's super gross.
They're like, did you know you can do this? Do you want to do it again? It's like, no, I'm good.
I don't.
I'm good.
There are much easier ways to get people's motivation up or to raise your affinity with them. You can give people hundreds of owl feathers and leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm a shipper and I love dating sims and stuff, but the tea parties, they didn't really do it for me. Like as a concept, like I think they have so many other better ways that develop relationships with people. And like even when you're just walking around and doing those like dialogues to find out about the month, that feels more like intimate and relatable than the tea parties do, I feel like. And also, frankly, like I'm getting those wrong half the time. Even though I feel like I know these people, sometimes they come up and they're just like, well, this could be any of these options. Like, you want to talk about working together? Okay, we can talk about that at any point. Like, everybody should be able to talk about that. But
sure, yeah,
I do think that's a very fair criticism of Three Houses.
Yeah, and it part of my dislike of a lot of this stuff is that I have a pretty extensive career in education, and I don't like that.
That would do it. Yeah.
Yep. I think that informs some of that, but also like it's not. This is not why I'm playing Fire Emblem. Like I appreciate the fact that you're spending a lot of time with these characters and getting to know them and learning their stories and stuff like that. For the fact that like we're going to go into dangerous situations with them, and it is a way to make me care about them a lot more. But when I play a lot of video games, I don't have the desire to be like, and do you want to date them also? And I'm like, no, actually I don't. That's not why I'm here. Like, I guess this is something that I've been thinking about a little bit as getting ready for this recording is I like romance in games when it's pre-established. I don't. It has to be really good for me to then be like in Baldur's Gate 3, I was like, yes, I actually would like to date Karlach. Yes. But in a lot of games, I'm like, I actually don't really care about it unless it's pre-established and built up, like in The Witcher, for example. I think that Geralt and either Triss or Yennefer, whichever one you pick, I like that because there's a history there that they're telling me about, and like I'm like, oh, I do actually care about this. If it's just a game where it's like, get to know these people and then it's like, yeah, do you want to date one of them? I generally don't, and Fire Emblem very much falls in that. Like when you get to the point in the game where it's like, give the ring to somebody, I'm like, all right, I'll pick somebody, but it's not out of a true dating desire in my heart, except for maybe Catherine at the end. But yeah, that's generally how I am with these games that have it as like, it would be different if I was playing a straight up dating sim. Like that's why I'm playing the game. That's what the game is built around, is that. And Fire Emblem Three Houses feels like you get to it at the end and I'm like, I'll do it just to see what happens. But yeah.
Yeah, I do think from the perspective of like a dating sim connoisseur, I think that like the way that they do it at the end too is so kind of hand wavy. Like it's like, okay, it's almost the final battle. You have this ring. Who are you going to give it to? And the list, at least for me, the list of options to give that to felt so long.
It's basically everybody.
And so disparate. Because I was like, I guess I developed these relationships with these people. But like, I would not describe my relationship with Hanneman as equal to my relationship with Claude. But they were both options. Like, you know? And so I was like, and there was one that was... like quote unquote should have been or could have been an option, but was grayed out, presumably because I didn't have the support level needed for that. But otherwise the list was so long and I was like, this doesn't quite feel, it does feel a little like simultaneously too easy for a lot of them, where it's like, did we even get that close? Like, what are we even really saying here? And then I do think genuinely, if you're coming to Fire Emblem to date someone, I highly recommend the Golden Deer run, because I do feel like Claude's story specifically feels like it's developing a romantic relationship with Byleth. And I will die on this hill, whether or not you are Boyleth or Girlith, you're like Claude not being bi is a freaking sin. And shout out to DJ Stormageddon, who knows that I came on this show to stand up for Bicon Claude, because
there we go.
He looks at you the same way. You have like a little dance. He looks at you the same way, whether you're a boy or a girl. He's bi. I don't know what to tell you, but I do have issues with the fact that Edelgard is the only bi lead, and it so reeks of like sexism to me. It's so, you know, like it's like, okay, why is the only one that you can date as either Byleth that is a house lead? Yeah, I don't know. I just have like... Yeah, I have little squinty eyes about some of these. And like the options for same sex are pretty limited. And some of the people that I'm like, no, for sure Lorenz is a gay man. What are you talking about? And like, and then I'm like, well, I guess he's like elite, and so maybe he needs a beard because he needs an heir, so he won't marry a man. Like, I don't know. And then I'm like going way deep into why they chose this, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like
Yeah, I mean, like, it could be that deep. It's probably not.
No.
Like, that. My guess is that it's not. In my most recent playthrough, where I actually remember what the options were, where I was playing as male Byleth, there was one same-sex possibility. It was Linhart. I like that it's there. I think that it's good that we do have some, but I do agree with you that, like, I mean, Dimitri, I don't think I saw it. I honestly, I don't think I would have seen it with Edelgard, but with Claude, yeah, I think I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you're also the love between Dedue and Dimitri, whether that is platonic or romantic, like Dedue loves Dimitri.
Yeah. Dedicated.
And you see that in any of your playthrough. At least for Golden Deer, you still get a full scene about how much Dedue loves Dimitri, and you are not even there. Like, it's
you want to make sure you know. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, did you know that Dedue will die for this man? He is so dedicated.
Yeah. And if you do the Blue Lions route, he will make it very clear many, many, many times. Same with Hubert and Edelgard, although that's not a same-sex dynamic there. of that talk about characters and character building and building relationships, whether platonic or romantic, etc., with characters. I think one of the strongest things about that is that it feeds into the battles in Fire Emblem. And we talked about it a little bit before, but it's time to really dive in. Fire Emblem's big thing, the thing that it's arguably most famous for, is permadeath. Throughout the whole series, when a character dies in battle, they're dead forever. Fire Emblem Three Houses makes it gives you the ability to turn it off entirely. Also gives you a couple of other things. For a while, permadeath is not a real thing. It becomes a real thing at a certain point in the story. And then it gives you a mechanic called Divine Pulse, which lets you rewind as many turns backwards as you want to undo a death. Usually you're forced to use it if Byleth dies. That's like the fail state is if Byleth or usually the house leader dies in a battle. Everyone else is fair game though. So I know that you played with permadeath off. I played with it on, and a couple things. Number one, I think the standard difficulty of this game is too easy for permadeath to be.
Easy.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I don't want to jump on podcasts a lot and be like, this is too easy and be like, I'm pro turn-based gamer guy. I play a lot of turn-based and tactics RPGs. Like it is kind of a thing that I like. And I want to be sensitive to the idea that like other people might not find it easy, but specifically with the idea that permadeath has to be hanging over your head. If you're playing with it, it is too easy, I think. So my last 3 playthroughs, I played the first one on the standard difficulty, and the last 3 I played on hard mode. Hard mode was a decent challenge. I've heard that maddening, which is the highest difficulty, I've heard it's insane, and I just didn't want to fuck with it. But hard mode felt like a decent challenge, and I had 2 playthroughs, 2 characters die permanently in 4 playthroughs, which feels like not a lot. R.I.P. Lysithea and Seteth. Yeah. And they both happened in the final battle too. So like narratively, having a character die in the final battle of the game works really well, I think. But I think that Fire Emblem works the best. And then with Three Houses, specifically because you're building relationships with the characters, you know more about them as people, and if you are role-playing as their teacher, you care about your students. You want them to be successful and you want them to live. And maybe in the opposite order, you want them to live first and then be successful. And so having permadeath really heightens that and makes it stronger, I think. Like the fear of losing a character forever is not just a mechanical worry. It's also like, I really like Lysithea as a character. I don't want her to die forever. But I think that it's a little too easy, and I think Divine Pulse is way too powerful, and they give you too many uses of it. Like, at the end of the game, I could undo like 20 moves with Divine Pulse. And you can reset the whole battle with Divine Pulse. You can rewind the whole thing. I think it's too powerful. And like, I love that tweaking the permadeath stuff let more people into Fire Emblem. But I think they went too far. I think that they sanded it down a little too much.
Yeah, I wonder if, because honestly, I was going to ask you, I felt like I had so many Divine Pulses, but I wasn't sure if they just gave me a bunch of them because I was on easy mode. But it sounds like, no, they just give you a bunch of them kind of
It's
either
related
way.
to your professor level, I think. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think I am like definitely, when it first came out, I was happy that I played on, the easy mode. This time around, I really do think I should have played on a mode that had permadeath and probably a harder situation, because by the time, if you recruit too many people at the beginning, like low-key, you are kind of like, well, I'm either never going to use them or they're going to die, I guess. Like, because I just had a bunch of people by the end that I was like, why did I accidentally recruited Anna because I was clicking too fast in the conversation. And I was like, oh, I don't want you. Why are you here?
She's like, can I join? And you're like, I guess we got a chair over in the corner, I guess.
Yeah. Well, when they ask me, I feel so bad saying no. So I'm just like, sure.
Yeah.
Like, okay, come on in. And yeah, I really like turn-based games, and playing this game way back was really my reintroduction to that genre. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot how much I love this. And like, because I get way too stressed when there's like a time component. So I'm really bad at like first person shooters and stuff because I'm like, I need a moment to adjust. And there's never a moment to do that. And so turn-based has been so great for that. And then getting back to it, I'm like, I can feel that I've become a better like gamer in the last couple of years. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should have challenged myself a little bit more. But it also sounds like maybe there isn't that much of a challenge spectrum that you're kind of able to set quite yet.
I think the big difference between the normal difficulty and hard mode is that in normal difficulty, if you attack someone one-on-one with no advantage, it's going to be fine. Unless it's like you're at an extreme disadvantage. In hard mode, you really can't do that because especially in like the second half of the game, other enemy characters will one-hit kill your characters if you just like go in without thinking about who's attacking who. And I think that that's awesome. And I really like the strategy of like, this guy will kill me in one hit if I attack them head on. So how do I use these 3 characters who are bunched up to take this guy out without anyone taking huge damage? Like, I think that that's really good. And I like the combat a lot in this game. I like the strategy. I like all the different tools they give you. And we mentioned all the like character building. There's a lot of different classes that you can use and stuff. And it's like, they always throw curveballs at you where it's like, okay, I think the guys on Pegasus, the Pegasus Knights, they're real OP for a while, and then it's like you go into a battle with a bunch of archers and it's like, get off the Pegasus, like they're gonna take you out real fast.
You're cooked.
Yep. So that stuff is really good. I didn't try the maddening difficulty, but I have heard that like that's when the combat arts and the battalions become like crucial to not getting wrecked in combat. Whereas like those things, even on hard mode, combat arts are not really, they don't factor in a ton. Battalions are pretty important because enemies can't counterattack you if you use those, and they're good for taking out monsters and stuff like that. But on the standard difficulty, it wasn't like do whatever the hell I want, but it was like if I make a mistake, I get hit, but I don't feel like I'm getting hit, like punished. And on hard mode, if it was like, oh no, you left your archer in danger, they're dead, like that kind of thing. It's that level of challenge. But then again, it's like they're dead and I rewind time and I have 15 more rewinds in my back pocket. That's why I think it's a little too friendly.
Yeah, I think it gives you a lot of like, for some reason when I was playing this time, I kept thinking about The Sims. And maybe that's just because I'm like haven't played The Sims since the Saudi Arabia EA backdoor whatever situation. But it was really giving like this energy of I have to make the choice if I'm going to let this person like be out. In my case, be out, not like be dead, but like be out for the round. Because there are so many divine pulses that sometimes I would be like, okay, let's just like see how this plays with with having lost this person. But I think it's probably harder to make the conscious choice to be like, I guess I'm going to let them die.
Well, when like in my first playthrough in the final battle, when Lysithea died, I was up against this situation where it was like, I need her to go do this thing. And I'm out of divine pulses because the final battles are like, they're wars of attrition. They go for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was on my first playthrough. I may have had like fewer divine pulses. I don't remember, but regardless, I was out and she died. And I was like, narratively, it was like she sacrificed herself to set up someone else to do the killing blow on the final boss. And I was like, that works really well. And it was in 2019. I think I was out of divine pulses, but I don't remember. But that was kind of like a conscious thing where I sent Lysithea out to do that move. And I was like, she might die here. And she did. And then someone else finished the job and it worked out in a nice narrative way. But it was like, very sorry, Lysithea, like, you know, a little bit of that, like emotionless general, just get out there. Yeah. Get out on the front lines there. Yeah.
And she's so small.
Yeah. It wouldn't have happened to someone else. It had to be her, I guess.
That's so Lysithea coded though.
I guess I didn't say this. I don't want to assume that everyone knows how Fire Emblem combat works, but it's on a grid And one of the cool things about it is kind of like I said, I made this decision knowing what the outcome would probably be because you get a lot of information in Fire Emblem. You can turn on like an overlay that shows you your character's range, enemy ranges. So if you're like, keep Lysithea out of danger, you know where not to send her, for example. It would also tell you who enemies are planning on attacking, how much damage they're probably going to do, how much your attacks are going to do, your percent to hit. Every attack lets the enemy counterattack. It will tell you how much their counterattack will do, their crit percentage, all this stuff. So I feel like, especially when the battles get hard, you're juggling a lot of information and kind of agonizing on like, who should I send first to attack this? And then who should follow up? And like, maybe I should have the archer attack first because the short range character can't counterattack the archer, and then they'll be weakened so the guy with the sword can jump in. And like, there's a lot of calculus to the combat. And again, with that specter of permadeath just over here waiting for you, I found these really, really engaging. And like, generally, the hard Fire Emblem battles are like really, really good. I mean, this series has been going forever, famous for turn-based combat. I don't think I'm breaking any new ground here by saying Fire Emblem combat's fun, but I was really, really in, especially when things get really hairy. It's really good.
Yeah, it also, as a TTRPG girly, it reminded me of D&D in like the best way of like, oh my God, there's so much information. I get to decide how much math I want to do. Like, am I going to run in and hope for the best, or am I going to sit here and read all these things and pour through and do the math? And like, clearly they've set up this game, as Dave said, where parts of it, you can make it as easy as you want, where you can do a little bit of autopilot. There are also auto battle options. If you're like, I don't know, I just want everybody to run forward. Do I really need to click each person? You can do like an auto battle charge, focus, unite, retreat. They're pretty stupid, I will say. They're not the smartest when you just sort of do the auto battle on their own, so you got to be pretty careful with when you're going to click that. But it is nice to have some of the like towards the end, as I was like, I'd really like to finish, but I need more ore or whatever for some of the like side battles. I was like, everybody run forward, everybody go, let's go. Okay, like, because I do think it's easy to overlevel in this game.
Yes.
And like, that was one of the things that was actually good about having so many people, is I would like rotate in the lower level people to stop everybody from ending up too high.
That was what I did in those free day, not like the story missions, but like those free day battles. Because if your professor level is high, you get to do 3 of them, which is it's a lot of battling to do before moving on in the calendar. And so I would be like, oh, this is a really high level one. We're sending out the A team. And then like, oh, these, this generic route the bandits mission, we're sending in the B team. Go grind up, go gain a few levels in this thing. So I definitely did that as well.
Yeah, and the encounter design is really exciting to me too, because like sometimes they feel a little samey when you're doing those like action point battles, route the bandits, whatever. But like, I think they do a really good job, especially toward the end, of making the big battles unique from one another, which is something that I was like not really anticipating. I was sort of like, okay, every single one is going to be go do that. And so it was really neat to see the ones that are like, there are different types of terrain, and the terrain has different impacts on people. And there are different types of like, maybe they built a different kind of monster. Maybe a different kind of monster showed up. Maybe there are secret rooms. Maybe there are secret backup people that are going to come in at a certain point in time. And so there's just like, I think it's really smart that they did that. And I think that it just reminds me so much of when a DM makes a really good combat in D&D, where it's like, you don't know what's going to happen 3 rounds from now, but like, it's probably not going to be the same. Something's going to happen. And they kind of telegraph it, or at least like, I assume they do this in the battles with the other house leaders. Like, Claude's always like, this has to be like this, and this has to be like that, and there are 10 of those guys, so we got to do this. And it's like, okay, great. Thank you for keeping me informed on how the encounter works. And I can like now be more able to be tactical about it.
Which for sure. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to bring up one of the cool things is like, you might, especially in the main story battles, you'll start the battle and like things will be going well, and it's like, I'm kind of kicking ass here. It's a little bit too easy. And then suddenly you get flanked by surprise enemies that were, waiting for you, or like reinforcements arrive for the army you're battling and they come at you from behind. And it's like, well, I had been keeping my healer and my archer behind the front lines to keep them safe. And now they are in harm's way because I wasn't being super smart about that. And so they will throw you curveballs that like keep you on your toes. And again, I think that without permadeath, I would have found that much less of a panic situation to be like, fuck, like if Linhardt gets killed in one hit by anything that attacks him. So it's in emergency mode. Go protect Linhardt right now. Otherwise he's gone.
That was how Ignatz was for me. Iggy Big Crits just kept getting hit. It was not good.
Uh-huh. I feel like in a lot of my playthroughs, there was that one character that just kept getting like, I wish they give you a lot of stuff at the end of the game. I wish they gave you like, which character did you use Divine Pulse the most to undo their deaths? And it would be like, it would probably be like the archers like Ash and Bernadetta. Like they got hit a lot. Yeah.
I love her. She's so cutie.
Oh, one of the other things about Three Houses I wanted to get your take on, because, well, you said you had played another before, and I don't know if you remember the weapon triangle from the previous games. It's not in Three Houses. So for those unfamiliar, the Fire Emblem games traditionally had this rock, paper, scissors deal in combat where sword beats axe, axe beats lance, and lance beats sword, and they call that the weapon triangle. And it's there as a way to introduce extra strategy into combat. And it's not in Three Houses. They got rid of it. I think they brought it back in a future game.
I think it's in... So this is how Claire learned about Fire Emblem and that not all the games are the same also, which was a devastating learn. That Fire Emblem Warriors is like a third person active real time you're fighting. And they do bring it back in that. Okay. And I was so excited for the game. I was like, new Fire Emblem. I'm not going to learn anything about it. I'm going to go in blind. So excited. I was so deliberately not learning anything about it that I did not know it was third person real time fighting. Ooh. And so I got the game, got on stream. And then my chat was like, oh no, Claire, you're so sad.
Uh-oh.
And like, it was fine. I played it. I definitely did not like it as much as Three Houses.
Right.
But they do bring the triangle back in
Gotcha.
Warriors.
Yeah. So I personally because like I said, I had played a little bit of Sacred Stones and the Binding Blade and stuff like that. I'm aware of the weapon triangle, and getting into Three Houses, there are still weaknesses, like units have weaknesses. Like we said, Pegasus flyers are weak to archery. Heavy armor guys are weak to magic. Like you still have things to consider beyond just like archers are not super high defense. So they get hit with an axe, they're gone. I think that if in the games that are built around the weapon triangle, I think I could deal, but I like how this one is like, I don't know, like functionally, like your characters are all kind of superheroes. Like it doesn't really matter if they have a sword or if they have an axe. Like don't be dumb about where you send them, but I don't mind that there's no weapon triangle here.
Yeah, it feels, to me in Three Houses, it feels more common sense based, if that makes sense. Like weapon will kill little magic guy. Like, yep, magic will kill guys with big weapons who aren't good at resisting magic because, and I think all of that kind of makes sense. And to be like sword user versus axe user, like, okay, but I think they should have an even chance against one another usually. Like, so I think it makes sense in the way that they did it for this one.
Yeah.
The flying units being weak to archers is so devastating, but like makes perfect sense and was just so freaking frustrating.
Yeah. It makes sense, and something had to nerf the flying units because my MVP character, other than the house leader and Byleth, in every playthrough that I had her was Ingrid on a Pegasus. She is she's a dodge tank, and she just, you can't hit her, you can't touch her. In my strategy in like some late battles was just like, there's 3 people and I need to get their attention. Just send Ingrid into their range. She'll dodge 2/3 of the attacks that come her way. She'll be fine. But you needed to nerf that a little bit because she will die in one arrow if they hit her.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, so I know you didn't do the DLC, but allow me one moment to talk about the DLC. Please. So DLC makes a like fourth secret house, which like I won't go too deep into any story stuff with that, but you do get another small set of characters. So you get 4 new characters and like a handful of new mechanical things that you're able to do that include developing, like using your renown for the ability to buy like different weapons and stuff in the Abyss, which is like a secret, basically secret city under Garreg. And then they also have at least, they come with, I think, 4 new classes. So there are 2 classes that are available for everyone. And then there are 2 classes that are actually only available for women, which I thought was really interesting. And then there's, I think there's like a man class too, but I don't know. But I didn't pay that much attention to that because the 2 women classes let you have like magic user on a horse, really good. That is like and then you have the ability to fly. There's Dark Flyer is like the other one. I don't know if that's DLC or not DLC actually.
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, because I got Marianne up on a Pegasus with reason and faith, and she was unstoppable. Like by the time I got her up there, it was like unreal. And I just fell in love with all of those characters too. And I thought it was really interesting because they definitely lean into like, okay, we've gone really whole hog into making sure that all of the melee classes are really well done. And I think they kind of take a moment with the special classes to lean a little bit more into like, but how does magic work with these kind of like combat things? So you have like the trickster class, which is, I want to say, it's very roguish. It's like dex and a little bit of healing magic. And then you also have the ability to open things without keys, which is huge. And then War Monk, which is like, I call this like the RAF replacement class because there is a character who's very similar to Raphael, but he gets the ability, it's called a War Monk class. And so it's like you're a brawler, but you also get reason and faith tasks or skills or whatever. And then you have the flying women, which I just love. And yeah, I would say if you're thinking about getting the DLC, if you liked this game, like it was so worth it. I had a lot of fun with the DLC. I love those characters. I brought both the boys into my reverse harem run. I think their stories are really good. I don't remember because it's been a really long time since I played the stories for the 2 female characters, but I really like the stories that the Ashen Wolves have. And I think that they like particularly go well with the Golden Deer because of the class dynamics in play with Golden Deer. And like, and Ashen Wolves are all sort of like the more relegated, the more like ostracized people, which I think just makes sense that the Golden Deer are the ones that end up like befriending them because they're also like the Alliance is the least like noble group of, it's more democratic, I guess. But yeah, the DLC was a pretty short play. I think the story itself was probably like maybe 15 hours. How am I saying that's short? Many games are 15 hours and feel long, but like it felt worth the money and the story was cool and they give you a couple neat things down in the basement. That's
good. I didn't play the DLC and I didn't know it was that short. I might have played it if I knew it was that short, but if it was like, hey, it's another 70-hour campaign, I'm like, please, I'm so tired, please.
And
please
like it was good. It's not like, it's definitely the worst of the 4. Like if we're going to call it a 4th house, like it's definitely the worst of the 4. Sure. Don't get me wrong. But it's neat. It's like a little take on what it's like to be more ostracized from these like elite communities. And I think that's worth exploring, especially when you love Claude, whose like whole thing is everyone should respect each other's differences and be excited about them. Like,
yeah, that does make sense that it would fit in with them for sure. I do want to talk about the music in this game because I think the soundtrack is fucking fantastic in this.
So good. It's so good and earwormy too. Like I feel like
Yes.
I'm by myself and I'm like dun 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 dun.
Yes.
It's like, what am I doing?
That happens to me. I mean, part of it too is that the game is so long. You're going to hear that song a lot. That's one of the battle tracks. But they are earwormy. And one of the things that I like about that, and I'm glad you picked out that song as an example, is this soundtrack has two main like themes that it weaves into a lot of other songs. And that's one of them. That like you'll hear that melody in 40 different songs in the soundtrack in all different types of
And the EDM remix.
Yes. That was one of the things about the soundtrack that I made a note of, is like you have this like big like orchestral soundtrack with like a little bit of electronic spice. Like that song that you just mentioned has like a part where it's like leading up to a DJ drop. And that's when that melody comes in the middle of a battle. And it's like, it's giving you those like big feelings from epic orchestral music with like that hype moment of the beat drop. And it's really good. And they use that track. There's another track that uses that same melody where it's like this nice vocal track that like plays in the credits of the game and stuff like that. Really love that.
Yeah, the surprise like EDM remix for the second to last battle really just like it sends me every time. Like and I'm here for it because it's like, you know, you're getting to the end of the game. You've got a couple big fights in a row and it's a little like, okay, another boss. Oh, and there's another boss? Oh God. And so it's like you get into that map, and that map specifically is so different from a lot of the other ones. And it's just I'm glad that they were like, okay, it's the end. We need to like mix it up. We gotta get some new like challenging features going on. And the music only contributes to that.
I think that like there is a turn that some of the stories take into a little bit like weirder territory than you may expect. Maybe like longtime Fire Emblem fans might expect it, but like I didn't expect it. And we'll say the music kind of backs that up a little bit. Did you play Tears of the Kingdom by any chance?
This is where I confess that I've never finished a Zelda game.
Okay, but did you play it?
I played a little bit of it.
Okay. The Tears of the Kingdom soundtrack, like in the main menu and stuff, has this weird kind of like shape-shifty sounds that they feel like they're from the future or like, you know, corrupted and stuff like that. The Three Houses soundtrack has some of that built into it too, like a little bit of that weirdness in there. That like some of the stories are going to go in that direction a little bit, that I think is really cool.
Yeah, I am such a sucker for a good sound design. Like being in theater for almost 10 years, one of my like biases is definitely sound. I was a production manager, so I worked with like all the different types of technicians, and there is something so special and good about a team that's able to like take a work and figure out how to like enhance it and not like step on it. Because sometimes the music can be distracting, and even for it being so like, and I did not feel that way for Fire Emblem. Like I felt like they did a really good job balancing, like making it be interesting, making it shift and change, but not making it be like so distracting that I'm like, I can't focus, or I need to turn the music off, or I need to whatever. Like I am often a like second screen player, and Fire Emblem is one of those games that I don't mind if the music is just like playing and playing and playing. Like it really feels like it keeps you in it.
Yeah, I'm not a second screen player, and I don't often listen to games or like listen to podcasts while playing games, for example. But in a situation like playing Fire Emblem Three Houses for the fourth time, I may be a little more predisposed to doing that. But even if I did turn on a podcast while doing those, you know, those side battles that are not story relevant, you're just grinding up experience, getting materials and stuff. I would still have the music on a little bit because the music is really good and I wanted to hear it, even if I was listening to a podcast at the same time. So shout out to those. I do want to also point out there is a theme that I associate with the whole Fire Emblem series that like I was introduced to. It's the one you'll hear in Super Smash Brothers and stuff like that. And they have it in this game too. It's the main menu theme with like the organ and stuff really slowed down, and it comes back in other songs later on. But I love that. I love reworking like the big series theme in there, because if you have any long-term connection, even with me, if it's just Like, I heard the song a million times in Smash Brothers Melee. Like, now it's in this song in this game, and they have like the organ, because it's like, this game built around this church and stuff like that, and it's really strong. And those are the types of things that lead to me listening to the Fire Emblem Three Houses soundtrack this morning to prepare for the soundtrack, or to prepare for the podcast, and crying a little bit, because it's like hitting those like, music is the thing that, like, I don't need to have been emotionally wrecked by a story for a song from a game to wreck me. And that's what happens now with the Three Houses soundtrack, because I played it for 200 hours over almost 10 years now. So
yeah,
that's where we are. And I think that this is just an excellent soundtrack.
Yeah, it really worms your way in. And then it's like you come back to the game and you hear it again and you're like, oh, we're here.
Yeah, we're
in
home.
It.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
back at my old stomping grounds of Garreg Mach Monastery, and the soundtrack brings you back there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think just a few other quick notes I wanted to mention. Like, I haven't talked too much about how the game looks visually, and this is where I have probably the least amount of things to say. But I think, number one, I think this game needs a Switch 2 upgrade. It needs to be living in modern resolutions, we'll say. It needs to be in at least 1080p, please. Give me that. But I do think the game looks good. The character models are really nice. And when you have this huge cast of characters, they all stand out. They all feel like they're designed with their own personalities, not just in their writing, but like the way that they look, the way they dress, and all of that stuff is really, really nice. And the battle animations are incredible. Like, they give you a fast forward button to fast forward through the battle animations, which I did because, again, I've played the game 4 times. I've seen the animations, but I do think, like, if you slow down and just watch, especially like the critical hit animations, they're like really involved. They're really cool.
Yeah, and like they do such a good job too with the ability to zoom all the way in and drill down on like if this what is it called, like an adjudicant?
Yeah.
I keep saying okay, yes, because I always want to say adjunct, like professor, and that's not.
I think it's
but
adjutant.
like you can have a little. Yeah, you can have a little like side character that comes, or like a character that you also send out as like a support to someone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like zoom all the way in, or if you do one of these attacks, you can see that person with the character they're covering, with the whole battalion, all going to attack together. And that is so satisfying because it's like, I was thinking so hard about like, okay, well, and then Balthus needs to protect Hilda because I ship them and I want their support to be up. And so like he's got to get out there with his shield, and like Raph and Marianne need to be together because I ship Raph and Marianne so hard. It's like, so I spent, so that's the other thing you can do with DLC is there's a character called the Seer.
Okay.
And she has to do with support points where you can use renown to force like higher levels of support with people, or you can use up so much renown and either like tie or sever ties so that at the end when people are getting together you can either like force one of them to make sure that it doesn't like randomly pair. Like if Marianne had an A support with Balthus and Raphael and Claude, then I could be like, I'm gonna spend 10,000 renown points to make sure that Marianne and Raph end up together, and I did do that, and that is a lot of renown to spend, but they give you so much freedom, like visually with the, you can also like change your clothes. You can decide if your clothes go in, it's a limited option of like what you have, but it's more than I would have guessed. Like you've got a winter uniform, a summer uniform, you've got outfits for each class. You've got an outfit at the beginning of the game versus the end of the game. Like there's so many different options. And like, I did put my Byleth in glasses this time, which was so funny.
Nice.
So funny to keep her in glasses during the fights. I was like, girl, because they're just little red wire glasses. Like they're nothing special. It's just
they're gonna
so
fall
funny.
off.
Absolutely.
Get her some rec specs.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like big lab goggles. Like,
yeah.
oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's visually, it's cool that you get a little bit of that like freedom, especially if you're on your 4th playthrough and you want to be a little goofy or something.
Yeah.
Like you could have everybody out in their springtime uniforms or whatever. Which I thought was really fun. And then my only other like visual big thought is a couple people are so different in their like kind of 3D character render versus their 2D drawing.
Oh,
And
okay.
like, I don't think it's like to the point where it's like disruptive, but it is so funny because I feel like Dedue looks almost completely different as a like a 3D character version of himself and the like drawing of himself. I'm like, this man's face is not like that bone structure is not the same. I love him anyway, but every once in a while I'm just like, wait, what is happening? But yeah, I think visually they all stand out, and they're all like, they have so many different, I just love them all.
Yep.
I love them all.
I think the last thing that just to throw out there is in big story moments, there are these like fully animated cutscenes, and those are they're a bit limited. Like you can tell like they don't want to spend all their money on it, but they are good. Like when you get them, the stuff that you see whenever you get to see a little bit of action in those, especially, or like there's some we'll say big things change at the drop of a hat sometimes in these story cutscenes with characters, and yeah, you get to see those, and they are often very cool. So just throwing that out there, that you do get a little treat sometimes of like sit back and like watch something cool happen in a cutscene. The normal battle stuff, like we said, that the animations are good, but they're all the same most of the time, and so you're not watching like, you know, people played Fire Emblem, they know, but it's not like you're watching like this elegantly choreographed battle. You're taking people out one at a time. Sometimes you'll get those cutscenes where it is like choreographed fighting and stuff like that. That's quite cool. And that's where you get to see like the, I guess, more fully realized version of like what those characters look like. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, great. This is the definitive. Okay.
Yeah. This is definitively what Byleth and Edelgard look like, for sure. I think that we've got a lot of stuff discussed at this point, and it's time to start making our way towards spoilers for Fire Emblem Three Houses. But first, we always ask the question, who would you recommend this game to? And it's interesting at this point, after 500 combined hours between the two of us in this game. I think that we both have a very good idea of what the game does well and who might like it. And also, I've played this game so much that I feel like there's like a little distance between me and the game. I've like detached a little bit from it. But that being said, who would you especially recommend play Three Houses?
I think Three Houses is so friendly to people who don't have as much experience, whether that's in like turn-based gaming in general or in the Fire Emblem series, because it can feel really daunting to like join something that has such a large fandom and to like tread into that area. And it feels like you have a lot of freedom to what you want your experience to be. Also, only would recommend this game for folks who are not afraid of a long game.
Yep.
It is a long game. And it is so fun to play taking your time with. Yes. Like, I don't advise trying to play Fire Emblem in 2 months or something. Though I'm pretty sure when it came out, like, I definitely way too short of a period of time smashed out.
It's a game you should space out, but it is very chuggable. Like,
yes,
we that life sim thing always leads you, one thing leads into the next thing, leads into the next thing. So it's very easy to do that thing where it's like, I finished the battle. I finished the battle and people have these support things ready. So watch the support conversations. And then if I finish those, I could probably go to the blacksmith and like repair some shit. And that leads into more stuff. And suddenly you played for 45 minutes longer than you thought you would. Like it has a momentum for sure. But I agree. Yeah. Space it out.
The loop is good and you owe it to yourself to take a deep breath. It is also a great, like, it's a game for people who like a companion game. Like, this is the game that is a great game to get to come back to, or get to play each morning with your coffee, or get to play in your once a week game time, where it's like you could do a week, you could do a month, you could do, you've got like benchmarks that you can kind of come in, do a thing and leave. You also have the ability to be like, I'm not really feeling like I want to do a battle right now. Let me go watch 4 support scenes and I've done something in Fire Emblem. Like, So I think it's that. I also think this is the Fire Emblem game for the romance folks. Like, I do think this is probably and I don't have a ton of experience with the older games, but it does seem like they're so fully fleshed out here that like Obviously, if the teacher-student thing bothers you, your romance options are going to be more limited. But even that, it sounds like you have romance options, and you've got Catherine, you've got, I don't know if Manuela is an option or not, and then Hanneman, Rhea, Sedith. So you've got Alois, maybe. You've got some fellow educators to romance as well.
Yeah, for sure. I echo all the things that you said, and I would just also throw in there that if there's anyone out there who, and this might not be true because I haven't played, especially like the ones on the DS and the Wii and the GameCube, I don't know how much like characters are super important to those stories, but like if you want to play a turn-based tactics game where like you spend a lot of time getting to know characters and stuff like that, then Three Houses is going to give that to you. And I just want to restate, like for people who wanted to play a Fire Emblem game, but got put off by the reputation that they're difficult and it has permadeath and stuff like that, Three Houses is the one that might like open the door for you. And then you might play it 4 times and get to the point where you're like, no, actually, it has taught me to appreciate permadeath in a way. It still feels really bad when a character dies, but I'm not afraid of it anymore. So for people like that, this game will be the thing that lets you in, I think.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. And as we're cusping the spoiler wall here, I think as someone who played with all of the things to make it as non-deathy as possible, there are still some permanent deaths in the run. And so pro tip, you will still have to face permadeath as a player, even in the other versions. So know that, and it does help as someone who's afraid of that. It helps teach you to experience it more, because boy, oh boy, I was upset.
Yep. It is. I mean, it is a story about war. People do die.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah. I guess like the other side of that too, like to restate again, something we've already said, but what do I do if not restate things that have already been said? For people who would like to play a Fire Emblem primarily for the story and not for like a deep, challenging combat system, you can do that with Three Houses. You turn off permadeath, play on easy mode, let auto battle do some stuff if you're cool with that. Like, I don't think on easy mode, I don't think you can just completely turn your brain off, right? Like you still gotta be there,
no,
and
you'll still
make
get
smart decisions.
Your dome rocked.
Yeah, but it does give you more of that. Like I'm here for the story, and I want the story to be the thing I'm focusing the most on. If there's any Fire Emblem game to give you that, I think it's this one. So for sure. It's a good game, and I would not have played all 4 playthroughs if I didn't like the game a lot, and if I wasn't curious as seeing what those other playthroughs would be like. So it's interesting that it does cater itself to a bunch of different subsets of people who might like it. So that's neat. So with that being said, let's do a little bit of housekeeping before we get into spoilers. As I said at the top of the show, Claire does a podcast called Date With Us, also does quite a bit of streaming. So please tell the people about Date With Us, about your streams, any other work that you want to share with everyone. Please tell the people.
Yeah, Date With Us is a dating sim podcast where my co-host Kanisha and I, we've been friends. We first started working together, which is a wild thing to say that with this person I worked with professionally, I now have a podcast where we just lust over fictional characters, but here we are. You can find us at datewith.us, which is our like website landing page, or you can find us at Date With Us podcast, most other places. Kanisha, getting a master's degree in computer science, was able to also make our blue sky datewith.us. So we're living large over here.
Love the URL. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And then as a streamer, you can find me twitch.tv/ClaireAfterAll. I'm Claire After all over the internet. So you can find me there doing that. And then additionally, I do some work with Trophy Smack, which is a very cool company that makes like wrestling style belts and stuff. So if you ever need a Magic the Gathering tournament belt or anything like that, they make these like absolutely wild. My belt says all NPCs are hot, Claire After all, DMing since 2019 or something like
Love
that.
it.
And so it's so delightful. So I'm very blessed to get to move through the world doing a bunch of different nerdy stuff with a bunch of different wonderful people, and Date With Us being the my most favorite, perhaps, depending on, don't tell the Trophy Smack people, but they know.
Love
And
it.
you're going to come on an episode,
Yes.
and we are playing that game right now, and I'm scared. So I'm excited to talk to you about it in the future.
Are we allowed to say what the game is? Or
I think
are
we can
keeping
say
that
what
a secret?
the game is.
Okay.
I think we can say it.
What dating sim out the people may be like, what dating sim out there is Claire scared of? And
Yeah.
once you hear the answer, you'll be like, oh yeah, that tracks. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're planning to do an episode about Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yay! Doki Doki! Oh my god!
That'll be interesting.
I'm just excited to get you talking about a dating sim.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what I have learned from this conversation and our conversations coming up with the game is that that's not a genre that you spend a lot of time in. And so I'm
Nope.
excited to chat about it.
It is not. This is it's totally out of my comfort zone. I played Doki Doki Literature Club not knowing anything about it. It was just like one of those games that people say like, hey, I can't tell you anything. Play this game. Also, it's free. So I was like, all right, sure, I'll play it. So definitely out of my comfort zone. By the time people hear this, we'll know the results of a poll that's going up on my Patreon. We're recording this in May. And in that poll is the game Date Everything, which I will be, if that wins, it will be way out of my comfort zone and would be kind of exciting to see. So we'll see.
I'm so excited for you. Our Date Everything episode was 3 hours long.
Oh, jeez. Okay, if that game wins, yeah.
Is longer than my Fire Emblem playthrough, my playthrough of Date Everything.
Hell yeah.
So get ready.
Okay. I'm scared a little bit, but we'll see. If that wins, then I know which podcast I'll go seek out to listen to some opinions about it. So we're in this weird period where like I don't know what the future holds, but people listening to this, they know how that turned out. So we'll see. But all that to say, if people, especially if you like dating sims, go check out Date With Us podcast. And if you like me and you want to hear me talk about one, look out for that Doki Doki Literature Club episode, which I don't know when that's...
We don't know when we're recording that yet.
It's in the works. It'll happen. It'll be there. But there are a lot of other like really great guests, there are a lot of really great like episodes on the show with other great guests, like former Tales from the Backlog guests, a lot of crossover there. So people should go check that out, and then check you out on Twitch if you like... you do a lot of co-working streams, which I think a lot of people find value in. So if you're looking for a chill person to co-work with, check those out too.
Yeah, I love the body doubling. I love a lot of people with ADHD. I do not have ADHD, and I love a lot of them. And I have done a lot of like reading about stuff like that. And so I have a remote job, and at least a couple of days a week, I do like Pomo timers and idle games, and we work together.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Love it. So I'm too like, I want to be in the chat and like active to like co-work.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. But for some people, it is something that like really works for them. So it's good that you're providing that for people like that. So, down in the show notes, people will find links to your Twitch channel, to the Date With Us podcast, and to, social media stuff too, like you said, Claire, after all, basically everywhere. So check down in the show notes as the spoiler break music is playing, find some podcasts, follow on Twitch, stuff like that. And continue with the good stuff that Claire does. So,
and thank you for having me. I didn't say that at the beginning. Thank you.
Of course. Great to have you. And I think we're over halfway into the discussion, but we have a lot of Fire Emblem to talk about ahead of us. But in case people are jumping out now, we like to do the plugs before that point. So it's been great to have you here, and I'm excited to dive into spoilers. The last thing I'll say before spoilers come is Tales from the Backlog has a Discord server, which is open to the public. It is an active place. We have a lot of fun conversations about the games we're playing, about kind of ideas that we have about the games we're playing. And we're a really supportive group. We'd love to have you, anyone out there who'd like to join us. There's an invite link for that in the show notes as well. So with that being said, it is time for the spoiler break. It is time for me to catch my breath. When we come back, it will be full spoiler time for Fire Emblem Three Houses. right, before we get to full spoiler time for Fire Emblem Three Houses, I'd like to say thank you to the patrons who help support the show. A big hearty thank you and shout out goes out to Chris Nelson, Zulgeek, Chris Copleen, Rick Firestone, Nick Fakori, Soccer, Cupcake, Kyle, Christian S., Matt aka Stormageddon, JD, Doug Leaf, Jason Emery, Brian Skirsha, Jenny E., Marcus O'Neill, Stefan, Drellish, Rigamort, Silcanet, Levi, John E., Aliasi, Aaron, Squill, Alan Kress, Doug T., Retro Overdrive, Magic Crow, Curly Bright, Ian L., Steve Yeager, Trash Dog Actual, Delaney and Jack McBride, Ethan Young, Michael Lassen, Michael Matuzak, Keith B., A Quack a Day, Jake Martin, and many more. Once again, I'd like to thank all of them for their support over on Patreon, and thank you if you would consider heading over there and checking out the tiers for yourself. Once again, that's patreon.com/realdavejackson. Any support over there helps out in a lot of different ways, and I appreciate it very much. So, with that being said, let's get back to full spoilers for Fire Emblem Three Houses. All right, we're back. It's full spoiler time for Fire Emblem Three Houses, and before we dive in, I need to make a few things clear. Number one, this game is so big. The plot is quite complex. There's a whole lot going on in it, and I need to be very clear that the point of Tales from the Backlog is never to be the explainer. So if you're looking for someone to walk you through the plot and talk about it in detail, that is not this podcast. Claire and I are going to talk about, our favorite kind of themes and stuff that are explored in the different stories. We'll talk about how they go, maybe some big moments that we think are cool or noteworthy, but I may spend, less than 5 minutes talking about one of the story routes, and it's not because it's because that's what I have to say about it generally. So the other thing is we're not going to go on a linear walk through the story. I'm going to spoil the big halfway point of the game right away. So we rarely do that on the show, but this is definitely one of those episodes. So if you've played, it's really fucked up to say, if you played 30 hours of Three Houses, you haven't seen anything yet. Please get out if you don't want to be spoiled. So that being said, the central conflict of Three Houses, and the thing that we kind of hinted at but didn't actually say in the non-spoiler section, is that there is a conflict brewing between Edelgard and the Empire and the Church. So the general thing that happens in the story, no matter what route you pick, is that Edelgard and the Black Eagles will break off from the Church and then rebel against the Church of Seiros. And depending on what route you pick, you get to see, Rhea's true form and true colors in all the routes, but it is whether she is a villain or not, that is different depending on whose perspective you're seeing it through. So I played the two most recent routes that I played were the Black Eagles route, and then I played the Church route right after that. So it's really interesting being at the heart of the rebellion versus the Church with Edelgard, leading the charge against Rhea and the Church, and then turning right around to the other side and being like, I'm siding with the Church in this route, just to see what would happen. Now, I think it's the same in Claude's route. Like, Rhea and the Church are portrayed as not great in that route too, right?
Yeah, it's I think Claude has a healthy and normal skepticism of a large scale organization like the Church of Seiros.
Yeah.
And his primary goal, like as a human being, is to like basically open borders, make life easier for merchants and common people, and sort of normalize that a crest doesn't make you special, and that because crests are a lot of what give these elites like their abilities and things like that.
Yeah, because they're passed down genetically.
Yeah, and so his like, rather than being right in the forefront of that conflict, he's kind of like, how can we use this conflict that like I didn't know was going to start to create a better world for everyone. And so
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, like you said, you pulled from the wiki and they said Claude was neutral. And I was like, he's not neutral. He's doing
Yeah.
his own plan.
Yep.
He's like doing a separate plan to be like, how can I capitalize on this for the good of, in his mind, everyone of Fodlan, of these things. And he wants to install Byleth as a leader for a unified Fodlan so that he can then like help run the alliance that he is in charge of.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I told you before, and I'll say it again live on the show. I appreciate you bringing like the knowledge of Claude's root, because I remembered literally nothing about the story. And I remember Dimitri's a little bit, because Dimitri's is a very personal story. Like, you have the story with Edelgard and the story with the church, and Claude's story, it sounds like, are like these big plan type stories. Like, the scale is a lot bigger. Dimitri's root, after the time skip, is really personal. It's like mostly about Dimitri as a person, rather than like trying to unify the continent or, make these big sweeping changes and stuff like that. And that's what I like about this, these different roots, is in all the roots, you have the conflict between the church and the empire and people who support both sides. But you get very different like perspectives, not just, I think these people are righteous and these people are evil. You see that conflict in Dimitri's root through the eyes of Dimitri, who became the Joker during the time skip. And his like backstory there is, during the time skip, there's a big battle at Garrigmach where like there's a bunch of destruction, and then you have a 5-year time skip where Byleth is sleeping. I'll revisit Dimitri a sec. Let's just talk about Byleth for a second.
Yeah.
Very early in the game, like in the first mission, Byleth dies and is brought back to life by the goddess Sothis, who lives in their chest, in Byleth's chest, in a stone that Rhea put there when Byleth was born, in a plot to resurrect the goddess Sothis later on by kind of details a little unclear, but incubating in Byleth's body or some shit. I'm not fully clear. But that's the general plan, is Rhea wants to resurrect the goddess using Byleth as a vessel. And that's why Byleth doesn't have a heartbeat. And that's why Byleth has a bunch of special powers throughout the game, is because this is like first, 5 minutes of the game is meeting Sothis, but we didn't mention it in the non-spoiler part. A lot of weirdness going on with Byleth as a person. That's why no one knows how old they are, for example.
Yeah. It's like they were born a normal human to a normal man, Geralt, who I love, and a normal dead woman. But then it's like, you sort of find out that Rhea is like secret mommy, because when you were born and your mom was dead, Geralt let this happen also. Like, they don't really talk too much about that, but like daddy was like, yeah, that's fine, go ahead. Like, I don't know if we were a sickly child and they were like trying to save us or what happened, but and the other thing, so I did want to, or once we're done with Byleth, I have to make an amendment to my Claude thing, but
okay, yeah.
But yeah, Byleth, the no heartbeat thing, and that they were like, didn't you ever wonder why this was true? And it's like, what are we talking about? Like, you've been running around your whole life with no heartbeat and no one was concerned about this?
Yeah. It does seem like Geralt raised Byleth like to be a mercenary like him, because he left the church for a while. And during that time, like Byleth must have been very sheltered, and like, Byleth was like, Daddy, why do I not have a heartbeat like you do? And Geralt was like, that's, it's normal. That happens.
Don't worry about it.
Or something. Yeah, don't worry about it. Oh, look, a deer's over there. Like that kind of thing. But
Geralt's whole thing is don't ask too many questions.
Yeah.
It's not time for you to know yet.
Yeah.
That is my biggest like gripe with the it's not time for you to know this yet as a trope. I'm like,
that trope, yeah.
Everyone should know things sooner.
Yep. And then, of course, that trope always plays out with like the character that says they're going to tell you later, they die before they can tell you. And that's what happens with, is that the permadeath that you were referring to as Geralt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so devastating. It's so, and there's nothing you can do. And then you're screaming because you're like, I have divine pulse by now. What do you mean I can't do that? And they give you in the cutscene, they're like, no, we know. You try. It doesn't work. We have a solution for that, which I appreciate that they're like, no, we know we gave you this thing, but no, he needs to die.
Yeah.
And like, I just remember the first time, I just remember screaming. Like, I was literally screaming. And it was just so like, I was like, no, because I had grown quite attached to him.
Yeah.
And like Leone, who is also in Golden Deer, is like his protege from way back. And so you already like kind of have a rivalry with this person in your house. And then when he's killed, she's pissed because she's like, you brought him back here, like, you know, whatever. And I just thought that was such a good like way to expand Leone's story. But God, I just was like, does he really have to go? Like, and he's so sad. And then you like hear his last words a couple times throughout the game and it like haunts you. And it's just, yeah, they make you feel that death. They said even if you don't let your characters die, and as you said, there are some permadeaths that you have to commit, and they show those as well.
Yeah, having it was Gerald's the kind of character that has to die for Byleth's arc to move on, but still sucks when he does. So, yeah, you said you wanted to mention something about Claude's.
Yes. I realized I forgot to talk about Elmira, which is like the other country. So Claude is actually half from Fodlan and half from Elmira. And that's like his primary motivation for wanting to like more open borders, better relationships with other people, more inclusivity, more understanding rather than fear of like different types of things. And there is a like a young sort of groundskeeper squire at Garreg named Cyril, who is also Elmiran, who like Rhea brought to like help on the grounds and stuff. And this was my first time playing through where I like brought Cyril into the house. And I really thought his stuff with Claude was also just interesting, of like having those ostracized feelings and the difference between like Claude having this ability to like take on this leadership route and Cyril being like, I'm from there, but like I really just want to follow Rhea. I just want to clean the grounds. Like I just want to garden. And Claude is really like, there are not brown characters in this game, but they like make it clear that Claude is like the brownest of the characters, which he's not. He's white, but like, or like he's very pale. But yeah, I just thought that was like super interesting that his stuff is a little bit more like internationally minded while this like internal conflict is happening. So he's almost like, well, Byleth is going to figure out the internal conflict and I'm going to make sure that we're ready to like negotiate these things afterwards, kind of.
Yeah, I like that as having a character that's like involved in the conflict but not like on the front lines, because the other three routes are like you're immediately involved in all the shit. And so you do get involved in Claude's thing, but not to the extent that Edelgard and Dimitri in the church route like those do.
When you finish your romance with Claude, he leaves you for a while. He's like, I have to go. Like, as you have your little moment, and he's like, okay, you have to run the country. I have to go get Elmira situated. So like, I'm going to bounce from Fodlan. And he's like, you know, promises you the world in the future and all these wonderful things and a great monologue and whatever. But it is not lost on me that it's like, okay, you are a power couple now. Yeah. Like, you actually both need to go figure that out and then figure out how you're going to do your alliance. And then you have to figure out how you're going to actually get to see each other, which I thought was like a very interesting end to that kind of romance. But they keep it very, like, I feel like they keep it very realistic in Fire Emblem, where it's like, for better or worse, sometimes the stuff that happens is just the best that can happen when all of these other horrible things are going on too.
The one where you romance Edelgard is also like that, where like you overthrow the church and you run the new unified Fodlan together. Like you're like her right hand or whatever. But she's still the leader. She's still the empress.
That's interesting.
And then I don't know, because I wasn't female Byleth in the Dimitri route. I don't know what happens if you do that. And then if you take the church route, I'll get to like what happens in the church route. It's actually pretty interesting, but you end up being the leader of the church at the end of it. So that, you know, kind of chalk in that case, what you may have expected. What I was saying with Dimitri's route is like after the time skip, after you find out there's a big battle, Byleth is gone for 5 years and everyone's been like basically Edelgard, if you're on her route, she's been plotting the rebellion the whole time. Dimitri had this big fall from grace during that time. And so this conflict between the Empire and the church gets set up. And all of these Empire sympathizers in Dimitri's like court depose him. and he's like this fallen nobody now. And it turned him into the Joker. And when you meet him at the
So
beginning of the second
devastating.
half of the game, he's fucking crazy. Like, he's insane. And so the story of like the Blue Lions route after the time skip is less like, you're still involved in that conflict, but it's like, it's not because Dimitri cares about the future of Fodlan. He just wants to kill Edelgard. That's the only thing he cares about. And he's like real obsessed with it. And so it's like a closer character story than like a big, continent spanning thing. And you go through this thing where Dimitri like eventually becomes convinced that killing Edelgard is not going to bring him the peace that he needs. And he actually, at the end, you approach Edelgard with the intent of peaceful negotiation, trying to get her to surrender, which she'll never do because that's who she is. And you have to kill her at the end because she turns into a monster.
Literally?
And literally, yes. She transforms into a monster. Yeah. Kind of like Rhea, but smaller than the Immaculate One with Rhea.
Wait, that's so wild. Okay.
Yeah. Probably something to do with the crest, although that was in 2019. I don't remember. But she does turn into a monster, and you kill her at the end of that route. But the Blue Lions route is cool because it is always focused on Dimitri more than anything else in the story. You're still in the conflict. You're still going against Edelgard, but it's Dimitri's revenge story, and not because Dimitri wants to align with the church or something like that. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Dimitri is not about like the global politics. Dimitri's like, you pissed me off.
Yeah, you wronged me, and I'm the Joker now. That's basically his story.
And he does get kind
a
of a badass post-time skip character design, though.
Yeah,
But
he looks real haggard. He's got like an eye patch and shit. Like he's had a rough time during the time skip. Yeah. Tell me more about the Golden Deer route. Like I know like the very, 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 very broad strokes of it, but what did you like about the Golden Deer route?
yeah, I think like I liked that it has both elements of the large scale conflict and like the deeply personal rationale behind certain like battles and fights and stuff. And then I don't know, like in the other runs, do you fight like those who slither in the dark?
You do in the church route. Yeah.
Okay. And then Nemesis?
Not Nemesis. Those who slither in the dark, for those who didn't play, they're the ones who killed Geralt. So they're like this cult in the story.
Yeah.
And they're it's weird that like not all of the routes deal with them, but because they are like you thought the church was bad, like these people are like, they're living in this like weird underground future sci-fi city and shit, and it's like it's real odd. But you do fight them at the end of the church route. But I don't think you fight Nemesis. I don't think you do. I think you just like, I'll tell you about it later, but I don't think you do. Anyway, in the Golden Deer.
Yeah, because so something that I really like about Golden Deer is I feel like it deals with like kind of all of these different streams of problems, where it's like you deal with Edelgard directly head on. You and the team are taking her on. There is this lovely moment with Dedue where you like run into Dedue on the street, and Dimitri has been like killed off screen or something. And which is crazy to me that they kind of kill him off screen. And I was like, he's going to come back. He's going to show up. Yeah. Yep. And I just really thought he was going to be surprised alive or something, because an off-screen death for a house head is like wild to me.
Yeah.
But then Dedue shows up in the middle of the fight with Edelgard with the single goal of trying to kill Edelgard at a certain point in that fight, which was like a very fun ally reveal. But Edelgard doesn't turn into a monster. You just
not in that one.
You can just get her. Which I appreciate that Claude and Byleth combined give the energy of like, we need to avenge Geralt. That is hugely important to us. Like, it's hugely important to the Golden Deer as a house, because both he was my dad, he was Leonie's mentor, like all of these things. And then, but I really enjoy that there's that healthy skepticism throughout of Sedith and Rhea, because like, I am not the most trusting of organized religion in general as a human being. And like, it felt really satisfying to be along for that ride with Claude of like, there are plenty of people who have positive benefits from the church, including ourselves who have like been there in school. We're getting these material benefits, all of these things, but to like have a healthy eye on what is really going on there and why. And like this idea of Rhea is actually a villain because she's the Immaculate One is so interesting, because I do think that makes more sense from like a neutrality perspective as far as Claude goes, because it's like, yeah, I mean, she's a dragon. We don't really know how that's gonna go. Like,
it's probably it's probably not great for everyone that the head of the church is a literal dragon.
Yeah, but you know, comparatively, when we're looking at like those who slither in the dark, it's like, okay, well, we want the dragon on our side. Like, what are we gonna do? Are we not gonna do that? Like, so going to get her when she's been captured by the Empire, because it's like, I feel like from Claude's perspective, Edelgard has put so much like energy into the idea being that the only solution to all of these problems is like tyranny and authoritarianism, that only she can be trusted to lead.
Yes.
And I think Edelgard and Claude have such similar visions, and Edelgard goes about it in a way that like I could totally see myself falling to, of like, I can't deal with all of this. Like I am the only person who will be able to make these decisions because everyone is making me so angry, and like I have the ability to mobilize people. And like Claude is more like, okay, I have the ability to mobilize people. How do I do that so that I don't have to be the leader forever? And like I just think, given right now and global politics and the way that all of these things are working and stuff, Fire Emblem Three Houses is always a game that has me thinking about like what kind of leader I want to be, which I think is really interesting. And as far as like the house leads, what kind of leader I want to be is more Claude-like, I think. I tend to be more Edelgard-like, where it's like, I have a clear vision, we have objectives, there is a plan, this is what we're doing. And Claude is a little more like, okay, we run these 3 plans, and whichever one gets the furthest is the route that we're going to go, and like keep going. And like, he's a connector, and I really identify with that, of like, we're reaching out to Hilda's older brother Holst to make sure that he can do that. And we're reaching out to our, peers as we're taking over the bridge to make sure that we can do a little infiltration so that we can start on each different side of the bridge. And like, I love that. Like, I love that he's a self-proclaimed schemer. I love to be in the like, okay, great, you're going to go be doing these things and I'm going to be doing these things, and we're going to come together and like capitalize on that. And yeah, so I think that, plus it felt like things were wrapped up really well in Golden Deer in a way that like, I don't know, without fighting those who slither in the dark, I don't know that I would be like satisfied at an ending. Because I'm so mad about Gerald.
In the Golden Deer route, do you have to fight Dimitri?
So they do have like
that's right. You said he dies off
battle.
Screen. Yeah.
Yeah, but he comes into that, what is it, Gondor? Is that right?
Grondor Field.
Grondor. Yeah, the field battle that they have.
Gondor's from Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Help. But yeah, so they like all come into that fight. But I don't think he dies in that fight. I think maybe he does. But you don't see him again after that fight. It's basically like, but Edelgard and Claude, and I think Dimitri, all when they're fighting each other in that fight, no one actually kills each other. I think each of those people die, but those 3 I don't think do. But now I'm thinking maybe Dimitri did, and I'm just forgetting.
Well, he does die off screen in the church route, so it's not, if that does happen, that makes sense. The church route connects with what you talked about there, because you don't fight against Claude in that church route. Claude helps you by like, opening up a bridge for you to get across, and
that's the bridge.
Yeah.
That fight is so good.
You have a nice like partnership with Claude, but it ends after that thing. It's not like a thing that continues on and on. He doesn't, I was like, oh shit, is Claude gonna like, do I get to play with Claude again? Nope. He helps out with that one thing and then he's gone.
He's such a politician. Like, he's such a skilled leader in that way, where it's like he has a good relationship, but he's not promising you that he's going to be right in your corner forever. He promised that he'll help you a little bit right now. And I'm such a sucker for that.
It's good. And you mentioning the like the types of leaders and what their goals are made me think of Edelgard's route, which is her taking on the church like head on. It's the most direct conflict. Like the church is evil. We need to remove the church. And Edelgard's like other goal is to unify Fodlan together, which like take a step back from that and be like, I am doing imperialism. I am like, the church is bad. They need to go. Rhea's a literal dragon and they're evil. Like they're punishing people who don't believe in the church. Any dissidents, they die, like they get executed and shit like that. The church needs to go. But also, how do the people of Fodlan feel about being unified under the banner of the Empire? Like that kind of shit. And the game does go out of its way to let you know that like life is better for people once you do that. Like life under the Empire's life is better than life under the church was. Which is fairly, I would have liked a little bit more nuance in that in particular, but I guess it just does go to show again, if you're thinking about the regular people, you know, that is life going to be better for like the farmers under the Empire? Debatable at the very least. One thing I forgot to mention in the art, I can't believe I forgot this, in the chapter, in the between chapter things.
Oh my God.
When they have like those the term from Pentiment, illuminated manuscript art.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like that really old-timey art. It's really, really detailed. It's incredible. I love that this game came out before Gen AI was a thing, and I can just be like, fucking props to the artists for these.
Yes.
They're incredibly cool. And you get the voiceover from Gerald's voice actor during those things. Those are great. But it's all about like the traditions in Fodlan and like the festivals that the common people look forward to because they have nothing else in life to look forward to other than the festival, you know, once every 3 months or whatever. So like when you're doing Edelgard's route, you're like, I was thinking a little bit of that. Like, yeah, the church needs to go, but is the Empire going to be a force for good? Like empires traditionally are not forces for good.
And that's what Cloud's Run is about.
Yeah.
It's like that actually that's a bad idea. Actually, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe imperialism is bad. But then he does just install me as the leader at the end. But I think it's supposed to be that it's more of a like, I was going to say presidency, but that's not really what I even mean. It's more like a
I mean like someone has to
than it is like an emperor.
Yeah, it's not like you're ruling with an iron fist, and neither is Edelgard's. Like the way they present it, it's not that like Edelgard is the emperor, the way we think of emperors as like these hard rulers and stuff. She's just at the top. And maybe that's what it is with Byleth in the Golden Deer route also. Edelgard's route with the Black Eagles is really interesting because you get to a point where Edelgard breaks off. And if you've done enough stuff, you get to a point where Edelgard goes into the Holy Tomb and she's going to steal some stuff from there. And you get this big branching point in the narrative where you have this big scene where Edelgard shows up. You're down in the tomb with Rhea and everybody else. And Rhea orders you to kill Edelgard. And you get a literal choice on screen. Pick kill Edelgard or save Edelgard. And that determines whether you do the church route if you kill her, or if you do or choose to kill her, you don't kill her then. Or if you choose to side with her, then you continue the Black Eagles story and go against the church. In the Black Eagles route, Rhea does a bunch of evil shit throughout. Like she's fully mask off evil fucking like leader there. Even when she's not in dragon form, like she sets a city on fire to force you to attack and not like wait until the right moment. She forces your hand by setting an entire city on fire to do that. Dimitri shows up because he's got this revenge against Edelgard. She kills him and kind of there's this really climactic scene where she swings the axe down and kills him. And she says something to the effect of like farewell lost king or something like that. Like, you know, your time is over now. And then you just move on after that.
The monologues are so dramatic.
Yeah, they are. Also, we haven't like specifically mentioned, I hope people could glean it if they haven't played it, but like you are fighting against the other students in the second half of the game. And you perma-kill them in battle, just like can happen to your characters. And this game does this really awesome thing where any student character or any like professor character, any main character that you're fighting against, when you strike the killing blow against them in combat, the big heroic battle music cuts right when the final blow lands, and it immediately cuts to like this really sad death music. They give their last words, and it's like the first couple times it happens, you're like, oh fuck, like some of them, some of them are really dedicated to their cause, and they're like, my only regret is that I couldn't do more for you, Edelgard or whatever.
Yeah.
But some of them are like, fuck, I didn't want to die. Like, it's not my time. And I just got caught up in the shit. And some of those things are really sad. And so like in my most recent playthrough, it was like the first battle, I killed Leonie and Ignatz, who are like two just, pretty sweet characters. And their monologues just really were like sad.
Can't even imagine killing Ignatz.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wanted to throttle Leonie just even in my house. But oh yeah, Bernadetta, Dorothea, Ingrid.
Yep.
All rough. All rough deaths.
Bernadetta, the shut-in who doesn't want to be outside in the first place.
Petra, also a brutal one.
Oh yeah.
She's also like a foreign person who has come here.
Yeah.
And they like the camera like kind of spins slowly over their dead body while they're saying their last words.
Yep.
It's so devastating.
It's rough. Ingrid would be tough. She was always on my team, but her story is just like her trying to like make peace with who she is, surrounded by all these nobles and stuff. Like there really isn't anything like objectionable about her as a person at all. And like same thing about most of the characters. Like Dorothea is also kind of the same way. I would feel really bad if I killed Ingrid in combat.
It's so brutal. Well, and she was on a Pegasus. She got by an arrow.
Yep. It'll happen.
What a way to go.
Yep. So in the Black Eagles route, you eventually, there's these two routes, the Black Eagles and the church route. You end up fighting Rhea as the final boss, as the Immaculate One, it's really hard. Like,
I need to play this. I mean, I cannot commit to playing this now, but I do need to play this.
It's really cool. Like the Immaculate One is a 3x3 grid monster. So it's like huge on the battlefield. So it's like, it's really hard to like break its armor in one turn the way you do with normal monsters and stuff. And in the Edelgard route, it attacks you like a normal monster, and it's just really fucking difficult. And I had like this really cool moment where like Byleth got a critical hit with a weapon art with the Sword of the Creator. Otherwise, someone was going to die on that turn. But Byleth like got the crit and got it done. In the church route, it's interesting because you side with the church. Dimitri dies off screen because you all Dimitri, Claude, and everyone is like all in the same city for something, and those who slither in the dark call down this attack from the sky, like these missiles come down from the sky. Oh, the light
missiles. Yeah.
And they destroy the city, and like Dimitri dies in that, I think.
Yeah.
Claude, I think, escaped but was never heard from again. I don't think he died. I might be wrong.
If you ask me, he didn't die. He escaped and is living a wonderful, beautiful life.
Exactly, yeah. And then you end up fighting Edelgard later. But there's this weird scene in the church route where like Byleth hallucinates meeting Dimitri in the castle grounds outside of Garreg Mach. And I thought they were going to do more with it. They don't. It's just like a one-time hallucination, but like a little bit of like Byleth's having a hard time with all of this, which is like, we should have had a lot more of that throughout this game.
If you're going to do it.
Yeah. It's
don't
like,
start then.
Byleth, the professor who cares about all of their students, and then like you get into this conflict and suddenly you're killing them all. Like you think you would be a little haunted by that. I think it's a kind of a misstep by this game to not explore the impact of killing your former students on the battlefield for Byleth. Like that would be rough. Or to its credit, they do with the other students, like especially in the Black Eagles route, like a lot of the others are like, we believe in the cause, but we're really broken up by what we're doing. And it's pretty good. That's how it is
for the deer too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where everyone's like, why is this what the situation is? And I really like that they kind of take that on head on, but I do wish there was my biggest gripe about like the Claude side of things is like his whole thing is he's a schemer. He wants to figure out ways to make things better for people, all of this stuff. And I'm like, you're telling me we couldn't have had at least like one mission opportunity to like poach or change minds
Mm-hmm.
or de-escalate or save someone. Like I was actually, I think that's how I got Ash, because there was one battle really, or like right when that schism starts to happen, where I was given the opportunity to recruit him instead of kill him.
Yep.
And
That was
so
same
I
with
was like, well, I'm not going to kill him.
same with Lysithea in the, I think it's the Edelgard route. She joins right when you strike the killing blow. She like joins instead of you killing her, or you can. There's also a way in the Edelgard route I read to exile Claude instead of killing him in battle. I don't know how you do that, but I killed Claude in there. Feels bad to kill Claude.
It does, because it's just like, why? Why are we doing this to this
Yep.
man? Like,
The church route, just briefly, like what happens in that is you kill Edelgard in the second to last mission. And after you kill Edelgard and you kill Hubert, because he's always with Edelgard, but you get a note from Hubert that's basically saying like, if you're reading this, that means both of us are dead and you need to carry on our mission, which is to take on those who slither in the dark. Which is weird because in the Edelgard route, you don't fight those who slither in the dark. You kill Rhea and that's the end of the game.
that's what I thought was crazy, because we also get that letter in Golden Deer after you kill Hubert and Edelgard.
Yes.
You find that letter.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's wild that they don't do their own mission.
Yeah. Maybe it's just assumed that after credits, that's their next step or something. I don't know. But
Edelgard actually doesn't care about those who slither in the dark. This is just a Hubert side
Just a
project. He
Hubert
left
thing,
that letter
maybe.
just in case. Like,
yeah, maybe. So that's what the final mission is in the church route. Because after you kill Edelgard, there's a big attack again by those who slither in the dark with the shit coming from space and stuff like that. And Rhea turns into the Immaculate One, and she goes up and she protects everybody from it. But the stress of that, because like the story is that Edelgard was captured, or that Rhea was captured, and she's not in good health. The stress of her turning into the dragon basically has her in like frenzied berserk dragon form now, and she's out of control. And so the final mission of the church route is that you have to go put Rhea down because she's out of control. And like Seteth is on board with it. Everyone is like, Rhea, she has to go. Like she's out of control. She'll never turn back into Rhea again. And so that's what the final mission, or that's what the final mission of the church route is. Sorry, I got them out of order. Third to last is killing Edelgard. Then you go to Shambhala and fight those who slither in the dark.
same with
Then
Golden Deer.
you fight Rhea as the Immaculate One because she's out of control. And
That's
Seteth
so
died in
interesting.
that final mission for me, which is kind of poetic that he died fighting Rhea. But that was the only permadeaths I had. I had Lysithea in the first game. Edelgard killed her. And in the last one, Seteth got killed by Rhea. So, that is basically how it turns out. And like at the end of the church route, with Rhea gone, the church is going to continue and Byleth takes the head. And I think there's some mention of like a little bit of reform, but you're still heading up the church.
Yeah, that feels actually the closest to the Golden Deer. But I think, so when you take on Nemesis, I think one of the big parts of these reveals are like that the crests, the stones, the relics, all of these things were not made by the gods. They were not supposed to exist. They were made by the cult. And that this guy Nemesis and his like 10 elites are responsible for all of this. And so the final battle for Golden Deer is the whole ground becomes flooded with water that will damage you. And then you have to like make your way through all of this swamp to kill 10 of the elite people who are all like, high level, whatever, with their special abilities and their treasures and all of that. Plus a bajillion magic users just running about trying to kill you, to then finally be able to like get all the way across there to Nemesis. And you literally can't damage him until you've killed the other 10 people. But then I think my understanding would be that once Nemesis is killed, I don't think crests and relics and stones exist in the same way anymore. So I think a part of that like unification of Fodlan, at least in like a lot of the epilogue stuff, was about how crests are less important now, and all of the nobles are like teaching people that that doesn't actually make you special.
Yeah. That was part of Edelgard's resolution too, because her backstory involves like they were trying to get a crest activated in like one of her family members, and I think like a bunch of her siblings were like tortured and died trying to activate these crests, and she was the one who it happened with. And so part of her
and that's
work,
also what happened with Lysithea.
Yeah.
And that's like why Lysithea and her both have the white hair, because they were like experimented on as children. Yeah.
And so part of her work after it is like, I'm unifying the country. Also, this crest shit, we need to reform this. Yeah. So that is good on her part.
I do feel like the whole game I'm just screaming about how most of the leaders are on the same side, and if they just like had a conversation, they could probably come up with a much better plan. And I'm like, Claude, you should have known this. Like,
yeah, it's interesting. What kind of subverted my expectations is that the church route is the closest you get to everyone working together in all of these, and it's, to me, obviously the most evil of the routes is to side with the church. It's the most evil decision, I think, is to side with the church. But it is the one that involves the least conflict between the house leaders. It's basically like everyone versus Edelgard, but you don't have to fight Claude. You don't have to fight Dimitri. They help, and then they get removed from the picture. But in the other ones, I don't remember. I think in the Dimitri route, you still have to fight Claude at a certain point. I could be wrong though.
I was just devastated that on that field, like I was so deliberate during that fight because I wanted so badly to be able to like recruit the Blue Lions, because there was no reason. And that's like my narrative complaint. There did not feel like there was enough reason for Dimitri to hate the Golden Deer as much as he did on top of the Edelgard stuff. Cause it's like the Edelgard thing I get. We did the whole fight. We got the entire, like that entire house cleared, and nobody hurt anybody on the Blue Lions. And I was like, oh my God, maybe we can like try to do the thing where, and I got Byleth next to him to like talk to him. Nothing. There's no chance. And so it was just devastating, because I just really was like, narratively, I do believe that this man would have been like, all right, I'm not going to kill all of my friends from school when we've already taken care of the real problem here.
Yeah. I think narratively that does speak to the
but I guess
individuals.
He's the Joker then.
Yeah. Well, he is kind of the Joker and not thinking clearly, but it does speak to the idea that individuals in a big conflict may not 100% believe they need to kill the person in front of them, but you're part of the conflict, and that's what's happening right now. And there are several, even in the Edelgard route, where everyone's basically on board that you need to take the church out, to varying degrees. Whether they're there because they support Edelgard and her mission more than like hating the church, or whether they actually think the church sucks. You still have these characters in all the routes that are like, I'm here because I support her and I follow her. I don't necessarily believe that I need to kill you, but you're in front of me in our mission. So there we go. And that's what's happening. I think the game does speak to that and does make you feel that. And I love how that mission at Gronder Field mirrors that mock fight from the first half of the game.
It's so
If
good.
I only knew what they were preparing me for in that first half.
They do that so well.
wanted to ask you real quick, who were your combat MVPs in your route, other than Byleth, of course, and Claude, of course? Who were your combat MVPs?
So Yuri, who is a character from the DLC,
Okay.
purple hair, very fun. The trickster one that's always able to run around. Yuri has a relic that is a ring that gives them the cavalry ability to move again afterwards.
Okay.
And a little bit of extra movement. So it
Sick.
made it just like way easy to get in there with that.
Yeah.
And then Raphael a lot because he's up there fighting.
Yep.
And then I think Iggy Big Crits got it once. I built Ignatz to be really good at critical hits and began calling him Iggy Big Crits.
There we go. Love it. In my Black Eagles routes, which were most recent, Petra was the biggest MVP. She just dodges everything and she's really fast. So she
She's so
attacks
good.
multiple times. I feel like the Black Mage in every playthrough is always just crushing all the time. So Dorothea's incredible. Lysithia's incredible. And then I already talked about Ingrid. She's the dodge tank of everyone's dreams. She just, no one can touch her. And then in the Black Eagles route, you get Yuritsa on your team, the Death Knight. And he's really fucking good. He's arguably the best character. He's so strong.
Apparently, Yuritsa is also eligible for romance with Boyleth if you go that route, which I was like, that's wild. Like, I love that. I wanted to know so much more about him, but obviously you don't learn anything about him unless you do the Black Eagles.
The one thing I can say about him is that he has a really deep voice and he talks really slow and he seems like a very simple pleasures type of person. Like, I think there's one support conversation where he's just like, you know, people look at me this way because I'm the Death Knight or whatever, but like, I really love ice cream. Like I want to sit in peace and eat ice cream. Like he's that kind of character where he's like misunderstood because of the role he plays, but he doesn't embody the Death Knight all the way to his core. Like he's actually just like a very normal dude outside of that context. I don't remember if he was on my romanceable characters list at the end, if I got the support.
I suspect it's got to be a very specific way to get him because he's so like not that involved, at least at the beginning part.
In the church route, Catherine was incredible. Like finally having Catherine on my team.
I'm so excited to hear about this.
Yeah, she's crazy. Like she's better than Byleth in combat.
Whoa.
Like attack 4 times with the best sword in the game, like that kind of shit. She's really good. And then I'm trying to think to my other routes. Felix was unstoppable in the Blue Lions playthrough, and Ash as like a horse archer, I remember just crushing everything.
That's interesting. I did not have as much luck with Ash, but I think I maybe didn't train him up as much.
Maybe
he's so soft.
Ruki loves Ash. And then I'm trying to Dedue was like really good in the Blue Lions route. I remember he in the church route when you're going to fight Edelgard, Dedue comes in by himself because Dimitri had died, but he was too far away and he just like died before I could get there to help him. I was like trying to heal him and shit, but there's like 7 enemy mages out there and he's weak to magic and is like, it's just sorry to do. Blaze of Glory for that guy.
And that's the energy that he comes into that with, is he's like, I'm here to kill Edelgard or die. And it's like, bro, what?
And he did one of those things. Yeah.
The stride battle battalion thing that make the stride feature that makes people be able to move further was absolutely my like essential must do first move, because I was like, every single fight, I feel like I'm not close enough to the things I need to be close enough to fast enough. So I did get to save to do this round because of the stride things where we were all just like running to the
That's
end.
good. I'm glad that he survived in someone's playthrough for sure. So yeah, MVPs. All right, now let's talk relationships. So I've done it 4 times. I can talk about my 4 results, but you've done it twice. So who did you end up with?
So I'm realizing that I must have done this 3 times because I'm certain that I did marry Dedue, which means that I had to have gotten to the end of Blue Lions somehow.
Okay.
Because the other 2 times were Claude. But I know that I married Dedue at one point. So that means I must have played this game 3 times.
Okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, both my very first one, I was really torn between Felix and Claude, actually. And I went Claude because I was like, he's in charge. I'm sure the ending is a little bit more interesting, kind of a thing. And then this time, deliberately, because I knew going into this that Golden Deer was your least favorite run, I was like, I need to be ready to talk about my husband. Because there was a period of time in my life where my friends were making fun of me because I was often enough saying my husband Claude that like I was just getting dragged relentlessly for it. And let me tell you, I will say like the second playthrough of Golden Deer didn't like hit as hard as the first, but goddamn if they didn't pull me in. I love all those characters so much, and every time he calls me Teach, I do melt. Like I fully melt, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so cute. Like I'm blushing. Am I blushing? And I think it's the thing of like, in my mind, Byleth came into this and is like, I am not a teacher. Like I don't know how to. I'm not a teacher. I'm not an educator. I'm just here to like help you learn how to fight if you want. And so that energy of him being like, haha, Teach is like a very fun dynamic to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did write, my man washes dishes because there was a scene with Leonie where he comes and helps her do the chores. And that was really, I was like, I got to make sure that I write down the cute things that Claude did. And okay, this is not related to Claude, but I am looking at my handwritten notes now, and I must say, this is a quote from Geralt. I won't go dying on you, man, who almost certainly will.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I went with Claude.
Okay.
Like I said, he proposes to you with your own ring, so I don't know how he got that. I guess I like slipped it in his desk or something. So he comes and proposes to you with the ring, and then you both have to leave each other before you're able to like come back together and have a life together. But it's very cute. It's very good.
I had been going through this whole time being like, of the three house leader characters, I like Claude as a person the most. It just, I didn't like the story as much when I played it. Hearing you talk about it more, I feel like I would appreciate it more now. And I just, for whatever reason, didn't do anything for me when I played it then. But I did come out of that being like, it's a shame that Claude got stuck in the story that I like the least out of the ones I've played. So my first playthrough, I remember I ended up with Dorothea with the Blue Lions playthrough. That was male Byleth. Second playthrough, I did female Byleth, and I don't remember what the result of that was. Just straight up. Can't remember. That was 2022 or something like that I played it. I have no idea. That was the Golden Deer route. So it was probably Claude. Honestly, that's probably what it was. It was likely Claude. Now that I think about it, just like logically, like why would it be anyone other than Claude? So that was that. Third playthrough with the Black Eagles route, I picked Edelgard for a sicko reason that I knew I was doing the church route after it, and I would have to kill Edelgard during that. So it was like a weird thing where I was like, let me make myself feel bad about this. So picked Edelgard at the end of that one. And that gives you, I think that's like the canon story there, is that they end up together at the end of it. And then in the church playthrough, because I finally got Catherine on my side, I chose Catherine because I talked about the power dynamic that I don't like with the other ones. And I was like, let me see if any of the instructors become available. And Catherine was available. No one else. No other. I wonder if it's like in an early battle, Hanneman is there, and in like after the time skip, Hanneman is there and someone else is there, and Hanneman died. He wasn't like part of the group. Like I couldn't do stuff with him. I couldn't control him in battle, but he died. And I wonder if he would have joined later had he survived, but he didn't. So Catherine was the only like teacher that, or like, faculty or whatever that was available. So I picked Catherine at the end. Catherine's romance thing is funny. She has like that character archetype of like that tsundere type character. When you propose to her, she's like, but I'm Thunder Catherine. Aren't you worried what might happen to you? And I was like, no, not worried about that.
And you're like, I love you, girl.
Yeah. But it was like a very much, she's worried about what she's going to do to you in that situation. That was what that dialogue gave me. So yeah, that's what happened with Catherine.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I was surprised to see Alois as an option. at the end for me as well. Because Sedith, Hanneman, and Eloise were all the like non-student options. And I
Okay.
almost want to load in and go like redo them to see what happens. Because I'm like, I just don't really see Byleth dating some of these people that I'm like, is it? Because the way they asked the question was like, do you wish to share your life with Claude? And I wonder if some of these endings end up like not romantic, even though it like feels very
non-romantic.
clearly that the option you're picking are romantic and the options that I have picked have been romantic. But I really am just like, are you telling me that I could actually end up fucking the guy who's best friends with my dead dad?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's odd. I was gonna say earlier too, like a lot of those high level support conversations do have a romantic like tinge to them, even before you make the decision to like propose to them. Like Dorothea's are 100% like she's crushing on Byleth, like that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Edelgard's are not quite that level, but they are still very much like extremely close partnership at the very least type conversations.
Sylvain flirts with everyone.
Yes, Sylvain, he's the ladies' man. That's his archetype. I was gonna say there's a there's a real strong in the Black Eagles playthrough. There's a very strong unrequited love storyline with Hubert. He's very obviously like in love with Edelgard, and
Yeah.
at the end, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna spend my life with Edelgard. Sorry, Hubert, like you can still work here if you want to, like that kind of deal.
Yeah. Oh, Hubert. That little snake man.
He was one that it's a good job of like when he's on the other side or even early in the game, he's like so standoffish with everybody, so protective, and his character portrait is very like I'm an evil guy, uptight. Like he has like a shadow over half of his face, like that kind of shit. And then when he's on your side, you're actually like, this guy's all right. He's just the most dedicated to Edelgard, and he's standoffish with everyone because he wants everyone to stay distant from Edelgard and like from him also. So
Yeah.
at the end of the game, I do like they give you those here's what this character did after the game. Here's how the rest of their life played out type of slideshow things. And one of the things that can happen is characters that have high supports with each other can pair off and get married, including some very unexpected ones. Like in my Black Eagles route, Ferdinand and Bernadetta got married, which is,
Whoa.
yeah, not what I expected, but fair enough. And Linhart and Caspar really seem like they spent their lives together.
And they were roommates.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Linhart and Caspar were, air quotes, they were very good friends for the rest of their lives. Linhart is a same-sex romance option for Byleth at the end of the game. But yeah, it seemed like Linhart and Caspar got married, or, you know, I don't think gay marriage is probably legal in Fodlan, but they spent their lives together. Maybe that's one of the reforms that Byleth can do as head of the church.
Let's hope.
Yeah, and one of the other ones that I thought was weird was Shamir and Cyril spent their life
what?
together, which is another like.
That feels inappropriate.
Wait, hold on. Are they brother and sister, or were they?
Shamir
Yeah,
and Cyril? I think they're just because Cyril is like the groundskeeper boy from Elmira, and Shamir is like the dangerous archer teacher.
yes. Okay, so maybe they're not brother and sister, but they're like a package deal, and she's very obviously like a teacher type of deal with Cyril, like a mentor type character. And so they like spent the rest of their life together in that ending slide. And I was very unclear, like, do they just continue this like professional, like we're traveling together, like type of thing? But all the other ones seemed like romantic pairings off, you know? And that was the one where I saw, I was like, oh, that's odd.
I guess Cyril's whole thing is kind of that he's a simp, like for older women, because he's obsessed with Rhea and like wants to serve Rhea. So presumably when Rhea is no longer available to serve, he was like, let me find a different strong lady.
I guess.
In mine, as I said earlier, I made double darn sure that Marianne was going to end up with Raph. And then Hilda and Balthus got married, which was really fun because Balthus is from the DLC and canonically is friends with Hilda's older brother. who is like referenced throughout. So in the little ending slide, it's like Balthus had to go fight Holst to like earn the right to Hilda's hand in like a very dramatic little like spar with his friend. And then they got married, which I just thought was so cute.
Nice. That seer thing that you talked about is real weird. Like if you think about it in the way of like love potion type of like loss of free will type of deal. That's real weird.
Like, I never did the thing where it just like forces support points on people. I only did because honestly, it doesn't really seem worth it because you can get them to do that. And so the real reason I did it was A, I'd never done it before, and B, Marianne had really high support with like several of the men. And I was like, if she marries Lorenz, I'm gonna lose it. And so I was like, let me just not have this be random, because I was really afraid that it was gonna be like whoever the most recent one was that they got that like high romance level. And her and Raph had a high romance level from as soon as I was able to get it as high as possible. And so I was like, I need to triple check that my true ship will happen.
Yep. I did double check Cyril. Cyril came as a war orphan to the monastery, and then Shamir took up like mentoring and teaching the bow to Cyril. So for a second I was like, why are they so connected? Are they brother and sister? But they're not. They're still an odd dynamic, but it doesn't like explicitly say they got married like it did with Ferdinand and Bernadetta. It was like they got married, and Byleth and whoever you pick. But yeah. So I thought that was neat. And then going through the ending slides, like seeing what these characters do, they all have interesting things they do. Petra goes back to Bridget, her home country, and like works on improving Bridget's relationship while also becoming independent from the Empire, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of interesting things that happen there. And then they show you the characters that died on their slide, and it just says like Sedith fell in the Battle of Garreg Mach or whatever it says at the end.
Devastating.
Yeah, rough. Everyone else gets these like big paragraphs about like what they did with their life, and then it's like Lysithea, R.I.P., dead at the age of 19 or however old she was.
God.
Yeah, pretty rough. Yeah. So, Fire Emblem 3 houses, nearly 3 hours.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot more if we chose to. I think there is enough where you could like be like, let's spend 10 minutes on each character and what they're all about and everything that happens with them. But that is not what this podcast is. And it's been a lot of fun in the spoiler section going through the different routes, and especially cool to now see how they connect. Like, especially like hearing how the Golden Deer route connects with events in the other routes is really cool. Like, especially the church route.
Well, the Rhea set that city on fire thing kind of exploded my brain because, like, we never find that out. We just, like, hear that they're attacking a village. And now in my brain to be like, we didn't know that Rhea did that. How did we not know that? Like, what are we doing here? Like, and it's so cool the way that those things have kind of interconnected. Yeah. Because it seems weird. Like, it seems like actually the canon of the like large mechanisms that are in play here are so well contained. Like, it doesn't actually feel like anything is too out of pocket as far as the big battles go. Yeah, I would say other than the church route where you like take control of the church, the other ones feel like there is a canon thing happening and you get different perspectives and incomplete information. Like you said, like you hear about that shit that happened over there, but you don't know that it was Rhea that did it. Yeah. That's really interesting. And I had come into this kind of with the idea that like there are solid things that happen in the background of all of these playthroughs, but there are little things that you influence events and like alternate timeline type stuff. But the core story of it does seem to be a little more solid after we've talked through it, which is really fun. Yeah. So big, so good. Yeah. Yep. It's been a lot of fun talking through it, and it is a really big game that I'm happy to have finally done all the stuff in, and other than the DLC, I guess, and had this conversation. Good. So Claire, thanks for giving me 3 hours to talk Fire Emblem. It's been a lot of fun. Oh my God, thank you for giving me 3 hours to talk about Fire Emblem. It is such a delight. So fun to be here. So fun to actually get to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to Fortune's Weave, which is coming out later this year, that is supposedly connected to the story of Fodlan. And in this, I don't know how it connects, but it's supposedly connected to this. So looking forward
I'm
to
excited. I'm nervous. I did confirm that it is turn-based to as not disappoint myself more again.
Absolutely. Yeah. I skipped Fire Emblem Engage because the character designs in that are poison to me personally. Yeah, so I skipped it, and I'll be back. I'll be back. I don't want to say too much, and really alienate people who like that game. But I took one look at that main character, and I was like, absolutely not.
I didn't love it. I won't lie to you.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'll be back with Fortune's Weave. So, thank you again. Really long podcast. I told you when we started. We have a lot to talk about. We knew it. But thank you for doing it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And thank you, listener, for listening to us talk about this for 3 hours.
Always. Yeah. Always thank the people that stick it out to the end. Always tell them that they're my hero, and no different here today.
Amazing.
And for everyone who's still with us, check down in the show notes for everything that Claire is doing. Date With Us podcast, streaming, and other stuff. Follow on social media. Oh, and if you want a kick-ass wrestling belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which does sound really cool. Like, I'm not into wrestling,
really cool.
but I love the concept of the wrestling belt as a trophy. Like, you get the belt.
And they started as a fantasy football wrestling belt situation. So it's just only gotten wider from there. Everybody needs a 6-pound wrestling belt.
Yeah, 100%. I got some wall space behind me for one of those. So people check down in the show notes for all of that stuff. And thank you for being here all the way to the end. And you're my hero. I'll say it again. Always say it at the end. Tune in next week for the next game to come out of the backlog.
Hello there, I'm Alex, co-host of the Low 5 Gaming Podcast. If you ever lost a weekend to Balatro, spent more time in Night City than you planned, or blown into a cartridge and hope for the best, we're probably already talking about the same games. My brother Luke and I do real conversations about the games worth your time, and every once in a while, we sit down with the developers actually making them. Now, Luke's not here for this promo, which means I get to say that even with all those hours he's put into Mario Golf, I'm still the better player. You know where to find me, bro. And you can find us at low5gaming.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everyone, my name's Darren Hupke. I'm a writer, publisher, and podcaster. My podcast is called Pixels and Polygons. Each week I sit down with a guest and ask one simple video game question. It's a random topic each week and it leads to a fun conversation. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform every Friday, and you can read more about it at pixelsandpolygons.net.